Call to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Doug Abel first.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remember, please turn your cell phones off or welcome everybody this evening. Thank you for coming. B was the approval of a flexible agenda.
I'll second that motion.
There you go. Motion and second. Favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Yes. Okay, number 2, public comment. I do not have people. I have 2 here. I haven't seen this on the board. Is there anybody else wants to make comment other than? All right, David, I'll put you on here.
And Tom's there.
And Tom? Is Tom on there as well? Okay, first one, C53, Aaron Miller.
She wants to find out too.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello. Oh,
Hi, Aaron.
hi, Erin Miller for the record, DCSD parent of 3 Lake School students. So when I was looking over the agenda and looking over the superintendent contract, I noticed a couple of things, and just my background with contracts, with construction, bookkeeping, things like that. I just noticed something, that there's no probationary period or exit clause in the contract. Just hypothetically, what if an event, it doesn't work out? How does that end? What does that look like for you guys and for the potential superintendent? That's weird. Also, I noticed that it was the salary was starting more towards the top tier when he doesn't have superintendent experience. So I thought that was a little interesting, just again, based on my knowledge of contracts and being awarded bids and things like that. There's usually a little bit of a difference there. But it also doesn't seem fiscally responsible for our budget to start someone who doesn't have that experience at a higher rate and not to have some type of exit clause or probationary period. Thank you.
Virginia?
Yeah, I think, I just a comment aside from that is, I think, yeah, like Nick wants to be on the list now too, I'm pretty sure.
We decided we don't need a list, just people come up because we don't have that many.
Yeah, okay.
Oh gosh, this is weird. Okay. Virginia Starrett for the record. I see agenda item 11 gives the district the opportunity to nominate a school administrator of the year through the Nevada Association of School Boards, or more commonly referred to as NASB. While I am not against recognizing excellence in administrators, I am not in favor of this district supporting in any way the NASB. I have been confronted repeatedly to prove that my supposed claim that teachers are teaching Marxism is true. What teachers, I'm asked? What classes, I'm asked? Well, my first answer would be that I never actually made that claim. That was always a lie. My claim is that Marxism has permeated itself into the world of education and that this district should do all it can through policy to stop it at the schoolroom door. NASB is an organization that instructs teachers through its professional development program in Marxist ideology. Do I think NASB is aware that it is doing that? I sincerely doubt it. The big challenge on what is happening, and I would call it a crisis in education, is that, as I said, Marxism has become so ingrained in theory, practice, and pedagogy that it is accepted as the norm rather than identified as a political ideology and rooted out. I do not care how much NASB helps this board conduct its business. There are other ways to get an agenda and to conduct professional training. My thinking is this board should separate itself from NASB in every way possible. Thank you.
David, please.
David Seat for the record. Thank you, Susan Jansen, for initiating a special counsel report. The report investigated allegations that there existed and still exist an atmosphere, an environment of favoritism, nepotism, retaliation, intimidation, harassment, sexual misconduct, grooming, bullying, and hazing. That is a jaw-dropping list. I would like to remind everyone of the people that were in positions of authority and power, elected and unelected, that the investigation could refer to. Keith Lewis, Superintendent; Joe Gerdner, Director of HR; Linda Gilkerson, Board President. In my opinion, if these allegations are proven to be true, these individuals either chose to deliberately disregard these horrific issues or were so isolated in their ivory towers that they were unaware of these horrific issues. In either case, it would appear to be a clear dereliction of their duty to protect our children. The recommendations, 10 of them, along with the findings, if proven, portray how the corrupt Douglas County School District administrative state had become under the previous leadership. I would not be surprised if there were to be lawsuits, civil and or criminal, that will result from this investigation. Hebrews 4:13, and no creature is hidden from his sight, but all are naked and exposed to the eyes of him to whom we must give account. Thank you.
Tom Sterrett.
Tom Sterrett, Agenda Item 3, Superintendent. Let me be one of many to welcome Mr. Frankie Alvarado as DCSD Superintendent. His diverse training, experience, and background bring a trove of fresh ideas and a badly needed breath of fresh air to this district. He deserves our respect and cooperation as he assumes this important position. Congratulations are also due to the 4 board members who, in casting a wide net, selected Mr. Alvarado and in the process avoided a lengthy and expensive search by a headhunting firm. Even the progressive minority should applaud this. Now the hard work starts. I understand that chronic absenteeism is endemic. 27%, not acceptable. I understand proficiency scores average around 33%, with test scores for our Hispanic and Native American scholars about 1/3 of that. Not acceptable. It may have been acceptable to the former progressive board majority and their acolytes, for whom anything not DEI or SEL won't do. In indoctrinating the students with their progressive philosophy, they have robbed those students of the classical education necessary for them to prosper. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's go to the one on.
M. Betcher, I'm gonna request to unmute. One moment. M. Betcher, go ahead and please introduce your name. M. Betcher, you're up.
We'll try it again a little later.
Okay.
Nick Meyer.
Nick Meyer for the record. I want to thank the board for finding an outstanding candidate to be superintendent of Douglas County Schools. And I hope that the board unanimously approves his contract in the meeting today. This district has some serious issues. And I hope that the board and the new superintendent will begin the hard work of addressing those issues. 27% of our 11th graders are proficient in math. Proficient means baseline understanding of the material. That means 73% do not meet the minimum standards. 45% of our 11th graders are proficient in English, which means 55% don't meet the minimum standards. We have to address the reasons why our students are not meeting the minimum standards. In addition, we have a chronic absentee issue. We need to make school interesting and rewarding for our students. We need to find out why we have this chronic absentee issue and address it. Now the hard work begins. I hope we have a new superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian Sawyer.
Adrian Sawyer for the record, parent of 3 DCSD students. I wanted to welcome Mr. Alvarado and his family to Douglas County. I am hopeful you will help build the trust between parents and teachers on the board. The legal bills continue to be high and there's no end in sight. The district is facing a $2.3 million budget decrease this year, yet the legal budget increased by over $200,000. I cannot help but think what was cut. I support a student representative on the board. I think it's important to get student perspective on matters that come before the board. There is no way to thank Ms. Dwyer for all she has done to keep the misguided direction of the board from impacting students' education. She has kept the district running and put her heart and soul into making sure all the upheaval caused by the board was not felt by students. Thank you, Ms. Dwyer. Page 4 from the OML complaint, 487. The OAG notes that it was a close call and cautions the board to be careful on how it treats public commenters during meetings. I hope the board takes this advice. Last, I have serious concerns regarding the library task force on the future agenda item for the August meeting. I am hoping this is not the first step to banning books. I would like to remind the board that it is every parent's right in the school district to make the choices about what is right for their child. No group or task force should be making blanket decisions for parents. What is okay for one child might not be okay for another, but access should not be denied for all. It is the parent's responsibility to decide what is appropriate for their children.
Thank you, Adrian. Okay, Matt, try it again.
M. Betcher, M. Betcher, I'm gonna request that you unmute and you can go ahead. You can,
Can you hear me?
we can, go ahead.
Okay, for the record, my name is Martha Betcher. And I just briefly want to thank Jeannie Dwyer again for her time as superintendent while Keith Lewis was no longer with us in the district. I also want to speak to the contract as I understand it. I don't think a 4-year contract makes sense at this point. I think we need to have a little time to come to understand Mr. Alvarado and if he's a good fit for our district. You know, no negative impacts that I see at this point, but I think we need time for that. I think it makes sense to have a 1-year probationary period. I think that's standard. Teachers are expected to have a probationary period, shouldn't the superintendent as well? And that's basically all I have to say. Thank you for giving me this time.
Thank you.
Okay, Beth Bunch.
anyway, this thing of this NAS, invest in education, when I saw this thing, I couldn't put a thumb on it. Pretentious piece of nonsense is what it is. And my reading through it, it looks like there are these superintendents, knowing that our board majority is against this epic theory and DEI. This is what this looks like it's going to be, is put this to the legislature and for funding. And what happens if they adopt this thing? Are we going to be, every county going to be mandated to implement this? And that's what it kind of looks like to me, just kind of a collective of these superintendents to push through all this gobbledygook. That's all I can think of. And the one thing when I see this, as Nick was saying, make education interesting again. And this, when you take away a teacher's talent and ability to teach kids, you know, in their way and, you know, whatever they're driven to do, yeah, it gets boring when you bring in these bots that, you know, here's your program, go implement it. That's not teaching, that's, you know, programming. You know, so we get these programmed so-called teachers, and then they get these and they continue, oh, and the learners. These kids, I mean, really, learners, that's so Marxist. The whole thing, you know, institutionalizing education.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, move on.
Oh, we just got one on the line.
Okay, go ahead.
No, one moment. Courtney B, I'm going to allow you to talk. Go ahead, Courtney B.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. First and foremost, I completely 100% agree with the probation period for the new superintendent. Just like every other person in this district has it, he should have it as well, just to make sure, again, that he is the right fit for us. I do welcome him, but deep down, we all know that it should have been Jeannie Dwyer. So Jeannie, I want to tell you right now, thank you for every single solitary thing that you have done for us. You went above and beyond your job description, above and beyond everything, and you should have been given the job. And I also want to say that if Susan Jansen cannot be here at the meetings, then she should give up her seat.
That's it. Okay, that's it. Move on. Item 3, presentation of the superintendent contract. You hear me? Yeah. Okay, item number 3, presentation of the superintendent contract, discussion and proposed action.
So Mr. Burns, can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. As I read through the contract, there were some things that I have questions about. Is there a specific reason why we are not doing a probationary period? I'm asking the question. You were involved in so why are we not doing a probationary period?
Probably the same reason a lot of them don't.
Actually, a lot of them do.
A lot of it's not.
So probationary period protects us as a district, and it would protect Frankie. If for some reason he moves in and he says, you know what, I don't want to do this. This is too much, or I don't want my family growing up in this. We don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we need to give him the opportunity. So I think doing a probationary period, a 1-year probation, it protects us as a district, and it protects him as an individual and his family. So I would say we should add in a probationary year, 1-year probation.
If the contract has already been negotiated, if you make the changes, he has a right to refuse it at this point.
I know.
That's correct.
But I still think that, you know, this is the first time we're seeing it, the rest of the board. And so I know that the three of you sat down and did it, but I wasn't involved in that.
Okay.
This is the first time seeing any contract. So I think I don't mind the pay. I think it's a little high. That's my personal opinion for someone who's not a superintendent prior to being here. I think 4 years is a little long. I think doing a 2 or a 3 year. And then at the end of the probationary period, we say, okay, we like where things are going. He's doing a great job. Let's extend it for another year or another 2 years beyond what this contract states.
So you're willing to pay all his fees for moving, like most districts do when a superintendent comes from out of the area?
That's not in the
I
contract.
can't expect him to, no, it's not. I can't expect him, my personal observations, I can't expect him to move here over $10,000 and thousands of dollars to move. And they give him a 1-year contract.
Oh, I'm not saying give him a 1-year contract.
I mean, you know.
Right.
The
So we do a
NRS
3-year contract.
The NRS permits us to have 4 years. Other than that.
So,
Anyone else?
so we do a 3-year contract and with the first year's probationary. It allows him the opportunity to prove to us that we want to keep him.
Gary?
First of all, welcome, Frankie, and I can't wait to work with you. So I'm not comfortable with this contract either. There's not enough protection for the district. 4-year term is too long. With all due respect to Mr. Alvarado, he has never been a superintendent. He only has 6 years of classroom experience and a total of 15 years experience in education. He also has no experience in the state of Nevada. So we all want him to succeed as our superintendent. We hope for the best, but there are too many unknowns right now. Life gets in the way of best laid plans. If things do not work out, this contract could potentially put our school district on the hook for, in wages alone, $700,000. We are school board trustees, and we have an obligation to protect the pecuniary interest of this district. I would think that a more reasonable approach would be a 2-year contract with some very specific language on severance pay if anything were to go wrong. Thank you.
That's it.
I guess, okay, you can hear me. Okay. So we are living in pretty tumultuous times, and I feel personally that to ask Frankie to come here with his family, the expense involved, the risk involved for us and him, I think that changes the situation for me quite a bit. And if you will look at his application on the first into the full second page, there's not an area of education that Frankie has not touched or been involved in. I would encourage you to read over that. I don't have time to go through it all here, but it's extensive. And so I personally, I guess there are norms and stuff. I feel very confident in taking a risk on Mr. Alvarado. I believe he's going to be very good for this district. A breath of fresh air. I agree with that. So yeah, he's taking a big risk in moving his entire family up here. His choice, I understand that. But I'm personally very comfortable with the contract. Thank you.
I mean, we're talking about probationary period here. I don't know how that would work. Would you sign a 4-year contract that the first year was probationary?
But it's two sides of the story here. The two sides of this, we can sign all we want. We can make any kind of regulations, but he doesn't have to accept it. Right. So the question has to come, do you feel he's qualified? Do you feel that NRS gives us 4 years for the first term? we have to weigh all that and weigh with whether he would accept it.
Well, let's say we hire a 4-year term and things don't work out through the first year. What are our options?
We have to pay him a lot of money.
You have two, is for cause and for no cause.
Right,
And no cause, you're not paying.
right.
If you have cause,
My understanding, though, is having cause to fire a superintendent doesn't happen very often.
Well.
And I would hope that it wouldn't happen. I mean, if we're taking a chance on him, you know, so we decide to do a 4-year contract. Is there anything wrong with us stating that the first year is a probationary year? It's not bad for him. It gives him the opportunity to prove to us as a board that he's worth keeping around. Would you accept it, Frankie?
We have
We
lots
have
of
to finish-
discussion.
We have to
yes.
discuss first
Yeah,
before we ask
lots of
questions.
discussion.
Well, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe you have anything?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, President Burns. I feel that sitting up here as the board, that we're here working for the district. Although I like Mr. Alvarado and I hope he accepts whatever we offer, because I think he did a great job interviewing. Fabulous job, not great, fabulous job in your interview. But I think as the board, we are here to protect the district financially, protecting our kids, our teachers, all of that. Ms. Dickerson, you said something about taking a risk. And yeah, I think anytime you hire somebody new, you don't know 100% anything, right? We're always maybe taking a risk. But what I'd like to see is that every other employee is on probation. Teachers actually are on 3 years probation, period. This contract we're offering is kind of the opposite of a probationary period. When we did negotiate, I was one, and I'll say that I did not want the 4-year. I think it's too much. It's the maximum that you can offer somebody. But if you go back and look at Story and Washoe, and I think it was Dayton that just hired new superintendents, they all did 3 years, not 4. I think that's kind of, I don't want to say the norm, but that's just the truth. So he's guaranteed a salary for 4 years unless he's terminated for cause, which, as I agree with Mrs. Wagstaff, that that doesn't happen very often. A better approach, in my opinion, would be a sliding severance pay scale if he's terminated. I think we should do I would agree with a 3-year. I would prefer 2, but a 3-year with the first year being probationary. If he's terminated in the first 3 years, he would get 3 months severance pay, not 3 years if we give him a 4-year contract. If he's terminated in the second year, maybe he gets a 6-month severance pay. So he doesn't walk away with nothing in his pocket. It gives him time to regroup, if that happens. And then if he's terminated in the following years, maybe you offer a 9-month, or if there's not 9 months left to his contract in 3 years, then whatever's left in the contract. The 4 years is excessively long for someone who's an unproven superintendent. A middle approach could be found in a 2-year with maybe after the 2-year, we offer him then a 3-year, and we bump the percentages up. When he's doing a great job, we want to keep him. And that's when we offer more money. Those are kind of my suggestions on this. I think 4-year, I won't be here in 4 years. Some of us will not be here in 4 years, and we're hiring a superintendent for other board members. And I just think that it's safer and it makes more sense and it protects the district to do a 1-year probationary and maybe a 3-year contract with this, if for chance
he gets terminated or leaves, we offer this severance pay that's a little bit more in line with what a district might be able to afford. Instead of 4 years, if we have to pay him out, I think it's going to be like $400,000 or $500,000. It's going to be ridiculous amount that we'll be on the hook for. And I don't think any of us wants that. The other thing that I'd like to mention, and I'm sorry, Kendra, I didn't send this to you. I just have been crazy busy, but it's kind of a language thing. And it's on page 2 of his contract. And it says, we use the word they, and I'm not sure I don't know if it should just be superintendent. It says it 1, 2, 3 times. And then at the bottom of page 2, it says as superintendent, and then it has a semicolon. Superintendent should be accountable. This is just wordsmithing. It's not a big deal, but I just thought I'd mention it because the rest of it is done beautifully. Thank you. You did a great job. And then on page, let's see, 3 and 4. Yeah, I'm not, again, it goes along with, I'm fine with the pay. And maybe after he's done his 3 years, we say, we've got a 5%, maybe it's higher. I don't know. It just depends on what the evaluations are. So I think we have to give Mr. Alvarado a chance to prove himself. And I believe he will, because we're going to help you and we're going to make you help you become successful. And yeah, that's what a board is called to do. I don't believe we should be giving away, as I've heard Carrie say, giving away the farm right off the bat. We'll protect him. If he's doing a good job, he'll be protected. But we also need an out as a district. I think it's just a good financial move for the district at this time. I'm not trying to run Mr. Alvarado off. I want him to come and stay and work. And I think he can be very successful with the help of our community. But I just don't think that offering the maximum 4-year, when we've seen just recently 3 counties offer 3-year, and I do believe we need to have a probationary period to protect him and ourselves as well. Thank you.
All right. President Burns?
Yes, go ahead.
First, I want to welcome Mr. Alvarado. I'm really looking forward to working with you. I'm fine with the contract. I don't seem to recall that Mr. Lewis had any kind of probationary time. And he had initially a 3-year, and then it was extended to 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. And no one seemed worried about any of that. So I'm not concerned. I think that the contract sounds really good. It's well written. And I'm looking forward to working with you, Mr. Alvarado. Thank you.
I want to clarify on something what she said. NRS allows us to do 4 years. Mr. Lewis had a 3-year contract. Then you extended it 2 years. And then you gave a 1-year extension on top of that. That's 6 years. Both of those extensions were violation of NRS regulations. You cannot, during the contract.
Point of order. What does this have to do with Mr. Alvarado's contract?
Oh, it has everything.
It has nothing to do with his contract, sir.
It's what we do.
This is like,
it's what we've done in
Okay.
the past. This is what we're setting up, and I'm voicing something that you get 3 years, you extended 2 years, you extended another year, and you extended at the time during the campaigns, and knowing that it could change. But both of those were NRS regulation violations.
What's the NRS code? No, what's the NRS number?
I don't have
The
it.
number.
Well, then you can't say it if you can't prove it to us.
Mr.
Burns, you can't.
Would that,
NRS is if you can't, we can't see that what you're saying is an absolute.
Use your microphone.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay, legal counsel, does it take time to let legal counsel plan?
And while they're finding it, I haven't spoken.
Yeah,
so
no.
Sure. Yes, go ahead.
And I'll make it brief.
So, it was said by Ms. Gilkerson that this is an election year. That was mentioned, and I understand that it is, but it feels to
That was in
me,
closed session.
I just asked legal counsel.
Well,
Did you give her permission to talk about this
I asked if I could mention that that was said.
in closed session? He wasn't there.
Yeah,
he wasn't there.
Okay.
Wait a minute, you're talking closed session, when
When you negotiated the contract.
you only have three, you do not have a quorum, that's not closed session.
Go ahead, I don't care. I'll give you permission. Go ahead.
Well, thank you, that's awesome. Thank you. But the point is that we can't do everything like what was done with Key's contract and whatever because of elections. This man has moved his life up here and his family in good faith to be part of this district. I think he's an incredible fit for the district. And I stand on this contract 100%. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I'd like to point out one more thing I didn't mention when I did my presentation. That is, if you go to page 8 of the contract on termination without cause, it looks like it might be the final sentence in C, termination without cause. It states, and I'm not a legal guy, but it states, in the event of such termination, the district shall pay the superintendent as severance pay all of the aggregate salary, allowances, and compensation he would have earned under the employment contract. So again, this contract is written, the way I read that, is telling me that if something to go haywire in that first year, we're on the hook for a minimum of $700,000 and beyond. If we're giving him medical and we're paying PERS and things like that, it's going to add up to a lot of money. And that's, I don't know, but that's why I'm reading that contract.
Is that correct? Are you asking that?
Oh, I'm just, yeah, that's my statement. If you want to bring out some clarifying information on that, I'd appreciate it, sure.
That's without cause.
That's without cause, which happens often. Could happen.
Yes, that's what that means.
Okay. So that's where I have a problem without the probationary period, or have a problem with four years personally. Not a problem with Mr. Alvarado, nothing personal. I truly do look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Mr. Burns.
Yeah, thank you.
So I just feel like the conservative thing to do would be to offer a probationary year so that we are not tied on the hook for the full 4-year salary. Should within that year, he does something that is completely contrary to what we as a board would like. I feel like a probationary year is important to save our district potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it protects him as well. That seems like a very conservative thing to do to meet the needs of all.
I'd just like to read termination for cause superintendent employment as superintendent as well as this agreement may be terminated anytime for cause as provided in MRS 391.110. Cause shall be designed as any of those reasons or circumstances set forth pertaining to dismissal of students and administrators. Skipping that, basically it says the superintendent shall not at any time have right to the hearing prior to voluntary termination. If terminated for cause, there is no severance package as described below in paragraph.
That's for cause.
That's for cause.
But that's for cause.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
without cause.
Well, I mean,
Which means,
I would not terminate without cause.
okay.
Well,
No, that's
Can-
a good question. Why do you
Yes.
terminate without cause?
so the I mean, if he decided to come in and he said, okay, we're going to start teaching CRT in our schools. I don't want that in my school.
That's fine.
But no, it wouldn't be,
Superintendent-
but it would have to, but that's a personal decision. That's not a by policy or state law.
Superintendent answers to the board.
Yes,
Does
but
what the board says. If the board says no, then that's what he has to do. If he doesn't, then he is with cause. It's not,
is that correct? So we can just pick any apple off the tree of why we don't want to keep him and we can,
Let me
I'm just asking because I don't understand, I
Let me
guess.
just read to you how NRS 391.750 defines cause.
Okay.
And that might at least clarify.
Okay.
So a teacher, or in this case, superintendent, may be suspended, dismissed, or not reemployed, and an administrator may be demoted, suspended, dismissed, or not reemployed for the following reasons: inefficiency, immorality, unprofessional conduct, insubordination, neglect of duty, physical or mental incapacity, a justifiable decrease in the number of positions due to decreased enrollment or district reorganization, conviction of a felony or of a crime involving moral turpitude, inadequate performance, evident unfitness for service, failure to comply with such reasonable requirements as a board may prescribe, failure to show normal, and then it goes on and on. But those are, there's quite a bit of options if you wanted to terminate protections, if you wish to terminate for cause.
Can
And indeed, that is the risk.
Can I ask legal another question?
Indeed, anything can happen.
So do we have to have any sort of proof that he's done something to fire him for cause? I mean, if Frankie decides to implement a program that we as a board do not approve of or do not agree with, and we decide to let him go, would that be for cause or without cause? And does there have to be some sort of like documented email or like, or could it just, I'm just trying to make sure that we are covered.
So for this hypothetical.
No, it's not petty. I'm not trying to be petty, Catherine. I really am trying to understand so that as a district, we are protected.
So in that hypothetical, I feel like I'm back.
I know the
taking a
what
law
if.
school test. So for that, you could probably claim that you're firing him with cause for insubordination. I already took the insubordination, failure to comply with such reasonable requirements as a board may prescribe, inadequate performance. But I would suggest if we were going to fire someone for cause, that yes, we do have some sort of evidence to do so. Otherwise,
right.
Right.
We don't want that. We don't want that.
So if we turn the tables on this, why have that statement in there? If nobody's going to do it, why have that statement in there? The statement of terminate without cause.
because you can't, you're just gonna have to.
Well, there's a risk. That's the risk on the public's money, and we are trustees of the public money. Now, if it's not a risk for Mr. Alvarado, then why have it in there? Because we're not going to do it. It's illogical to me, that argument.
Use cause. If he has cause to get rid of him, you get rid of him. If he doesn't have cause, then we don't. Because why? Because you have no reason to.
Why have that whole paragraph there if you're not gonna, if that doesn't mean anything?
I didn't write the contract.
Okay, well, that's my next point of, well, we gotta be sure of what we're doing because it's not our money.
But my view of it was loaded with, you want to get rid of him, you get rid of it.
Okay.
That's what I see. If he's not doing it, the only reason why you want to get rid of him is he wasn't doing his job and doing his job correctly.
Right.
And at that point, that's cause.
You're going, but you're turning back around, I answer the question about C. Why does that have to be there then?
I don't know.
If it's not important, why does it have to be there? I think it's because it's important.
It's
Very
yes,
important.
it's important for an employment contract to outline how someone may be terminated and how the contract is followed if that happens.
Right. And I'd also like to state that Mr. Alvarado gives me no reason to believe that we'd ever get rid of him without cause or with cause at this point. But there's lots of unknown and we got to protect the interest of the district.
Doug?
I don't think we're done talking, Doug. I'm sorry. Okay.
Motion that we approve the contract as written and agreed to by the board officers and Mr. Alvarado.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. Engelkirk, and we have a second by Catherine.
Well, I would like to amend that motion, that we approve the contract as follows, but we add in that the first year of his contract is probationary. That's my amended motion.
How exactly does that work?
What do you mean? I want to approve the contract, but I want to amend it so that we add in a probationary year.
No, so what does that mean? During the first year?
During the first year, if he's not meeting,
We just say.
if he's not meeting our expectations, yeah.
I think you need to be more clear on what you mean.
Well, you can offer him a 3-month severance package if we terminate without cause or with cause in the first year. That's the probation. We don't have to pay the full 4 years. We pay a fraction of that. So that if in the first, we're taking a chance on a man who's never been a superintendent, ever.
Washoe County just confirmed their.
They did a hiring, yes, but they had a hiring firm.
They hired one. He was a teacher. He was then a principal. And he did for years was hired him from this. This is what he was doing. He was a truancy officer. Absolutely no management, no administration experience whatsoever, other than he was for a short term. So we're getting into things of, and that's $280,000, by the way, is what they paid him, and has no experience. So.
And has he started? How long's he been there?
Just on this.
Yeah, so he hasn't even started, so they don't know if he's going to be any good or not. But you're saying that this is what they did. They're taking a chance on him. And how many years is his contract for?
They didn't say.
Well, I can tell you it's 3 years. And I'm sure they have other stipulations, but you can say those things, Dave.
I'm just made a statement.
Right,
because the
and
statement
it's
came up
right.
of a lot of experience.
And he was hired from within as well. They know him. Just so you know that too.
Yes, go ahead, Kathy.
All right, until I run out of my 5 minutes, let me just read what this man has done, okay? Essential duties, no, hey, we listen to lots of paperwork over here all the time. Directs a program of recruitment, initial screening, selection, employment, assignment, credential processing, and transfer of certified, classified, confidential, administrative, coaching, and hourly employees, determines staffing allocations for the district office and schools, including management, certified, classified, and confidential employees, recommends budgeting for hiring of the district personnel based on assessment of enrollment and staffing needs, serves as chief negotiator for the district, establishes and maintains cooperative relations with all bargaining units and the leadership teams of those units, monitors adherence to all employee collective bargaining agreements, provides policy level support for negotiations and employee organizations, assists management staff in the interpretation and implementation of collective bargaining agreements, monitors and coordinates communications among human resource, payroll, position control with respect to both certified and classified staffing, serves as a resource to payroll and position control in resolving staffing issues and concerns, directs and monitors a program of performance evaluation for all employees, provides staff development to the management team regarding supervision, evaluation, and personnel management, processes and coordinates all formal employee disciplinary actions in accordance with education code requirements, board policy, district collective bargaining agreements, establishes and maintains a system of central personnel record keeping for all employees, prepares reports as required for the state and federal governments, develops and implements board personnel policies and procedures, provides guidance to administrators, administrative and supervisory personnel, directs the preparation and administration of the personnel office budget, selects, trains, and evaluates the performance of assigned employees, represents the district in the investigation and resolutions of grievances, formal complaints, and compliance issues related to employees. Shall I go on? Because there's half a page left.
Did you confirm all that yourself? Or is that what he wrote? And we're taking the chance and hiring a superintendent.
So I don't think the man.
But I don't want to take
Is a liar, so Carrie.
It's
if
not,
I take him at his
whoa,
word-
stop that.
I
You
take
used a
him at his
bad word right there,
Well,
lady.
I
Are
take
you
him
call,
at
what are
his
you,
word.
were you accusing me of something?
This is not a back and forth with you and I.
Okay, then. My turn.
Okay, this is the last round. I've not stuck with the two times
Yeah.
for each person.
Okay.
Don't shake your head. That's the regulations, and that's where I'm at. I'll let you go one more time, and then we're going. to
Okay.
make a decision.
Thank you. We take a chance on any person that we interviewed to be superintendent of our school district. That's all I'm saying. I'm not willing to take a 4-year chance. And I think we have a pecuniary or fiscal responsibility to this county to make sure that we have the right person in place. That's all I'm saying. And I don't think he's a liar either. But you write lots of things on resumes. Oh, okay. Thank you. That's all.
That's cause for termination.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could check.
I hope and pray that Mr. Alvarado comes in and he exceeds our expectations. I really, that is my hope and my prayer, is that he exceeds our expectation. I do not see any reason then why putting a 1-year probation year in the contract, one, it's fiscally responsible. It's more conservative to do. And I wouldn't go out and hire someone to work on my house or to teach my children that had no experience. I would say, okay, I'm not going to pay you $50 an hour to do those things when you don't have the experience. I'm only going to pay you $30 and we're going to give it a try. And if it doesn't work out, then I'll find somebody else. I'm not saying we need to go do that. I'm just saying it makes sense for us to be responsible board members and do the conservative thing to watch out for our financial budget and make sure that we are not hiring someone who's going to come in and completely change everything about Douglas County. Run more teachers off. We have teachers and staff members leaving left and right. We don't want more of that. And I feel like we have a responsibility to our staff, to our students, to watch out for them. Yes, let's take a chance on Frankie, but let's add in a probationary clause.
I would. Thank you, President Burns. I agree. Sorry. I agree with Yvonne on this as well. You know, it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility as a board that we protect the district. In protecting the district, therefore, we protect our employees, we protect our students. And I think that's what we were hired to do as well. I think that it's not unreasonable to do a one-year probationary. You know, I hope he knocks it out of the park, and I think he will. But I think we owe it to our constituents that we protect them, because if he does come in and for whatever reason, with cause, without cause, if we think we have with cause, you're kidding yourself, because you can have cause, but there's going to be lawsuits tied with that, right? I mean, I know shaking her head over there. Nobody's just going to walk away with cause, without cause. You know, that's not what we were hoping for. That's not what we want. But we have to protect ourselves. Can we afford, after a year, Mr. Alvarado, for whatever reason, I can't even give you an example, but that's why we have insurance on things in our lives, to protect ourselves. Probationary is an insurance clause, really, for the district to protect ourselves. And I don't think there's anything wrong with putting in a severance package to protect him as well, and something that he might agree to. I think that by not having a protection clause, we're opening ourselves up for, could be for owing a lot of money. I would agree with a probationary, but I also would agree with a 3-year. 4-year is the top you can give somebody, according to NRS. That's the maximum. 3-year seems to be, like when we were looking at pay scale, we were looking at other districts. And if you do that, you'll see the average is a 3-year contract, not a 4-year. So I would like to see a probationary for 1 year, along with a 3-year contract. And at the end of 3 years, when he's doing a great job, that we renegotiate and offer him, we want to keep him, we do that. But we also offer in that a severance package after the first year, where we would pay a certain amount instead of $700,000. That will bankrupt us, I believe. So to be financially responsible, that's what we're called to do. And I don't think I hope Mr. Alvarado doesn't take it as an insult, because it's not meant as one at all. It's just, I'm on the district side. That's who we should all be, on the district side, protecting the district above all. That's what we're called to do. Nothing personal. Thank you.
Doug?
The board officers and Mr. Alvarado were involved in the negotiations. And I assume this went back and forth, and a probationary period was brought up. And 3 years was brought up. And in the end, this was what was agreed to. It's
Not
written
by
here.
me. I did not agree with this.
I did.
I know, 2 out of the 3, usual. Okay, then.
Was this time we can hear from Mr. Alvarado?
We have an amendment that someone needs to second.
He did second.
Oh, did you second? I'm sorry.
If it's not on the record, I will second the amendment made by trustee Wagstaff. Yeah, it kind of went.
Trustee Jansen, do you have anything?
Just that I am in agreement with you and Catherine and Doug. I think that the contract was negotiated. I read it. I've had it since Thursday. I've had time to read it a couple times. It makes good sense. I I just feel that because he's an outsider, he's being put through extra scrutiny. And in light of our investigation, I really think it's important for us to have an outsider. And I think that's why they're fighting against us so hard. Anyway, I'm looking forward to working with Mr. Alvarado, and I'm ready to vote.
All right. We're gonna, first, the amendment, we're gonna call for the vote on that. Do you want to make the motion again?
Well, I already did make the motion because I amended it and he seconded it.
Right, so we need to
Refresh it maybe.
Oh, right. So my recommendation, my amendment to the motion that's on the table is that we add a 1-year probationary period.
I will second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor and a second for 1-year probation period. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
My vote is 4-3. And now we have a motion on the floor and a second for the contract. Doug, would you read that again? So we. Reminder for us.
I didn't write it down, but my motion is that we approve the contract as written and agreed to by the officers and Mr. Alvarado.
Second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, say nay.
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 Okay, motion passes 4-3.
Throw your papers on the floor.
But as far as I know, Mr. Alvarado. Yeah. We were in agreement with that, Mr. Alvarado, correct? Yes. Okay. Thank you. Number 3. You want to throw that at him? Throw that. Presentation of superintendent contract. So we'll go special counsel report on the investigation. That is going to be moved down the agenda. Yeah, he run a little late. When he gets here, we'll change the agenda back. Consent item and for possible action. Any discussion on the consent item?
I would like to make a motion that we approve all consent items.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion. Trustee Flagstaff, we have a second. Catherine Dickerson.
No, actually, Linda, go first.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Linda. I'm sorry. Any discussion? Get feedback.
Sometimes I think we get too close and it's our fault. Yeah, we got to get that right distance.
Not using it.
Okay, no discussion. Okay, we have a motion to approve the consent items. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimous. Number 6. Student representative for school board meetings, and do not say anything. I did not say that intentionally. Student representative for the board meeting, second reading, discussion and for possible action. Board will discuss and take possible action concerning the second reading of board policy 548 regarding a student representative at board meetings. Somebody have that policy 548 with them?
Yeah, it's in our packet.
Okay,
It's in our packet.
good. Who wants to read it?
We don't need to read it. It's a
Second reading? Okay,
I'll make a motion that we approve item number 6, which is the policy number 548, student representative on the Board of Trustees.
Second.
okay. No discussion? All right, Catherine?
I realize this is not a popular position, but I believe that it still gives a voice to any student that wants to come up and speak at the beginning of our meetings, however we do it, 20 minutes. Give them time to really give us information on what's going on. I feel that personally, that it would hinder the work of the board in many respects, because how do you say no to a student? If I don't agree or someone doesn't agree with a student, it looks like you're bullying a student or something like that. I think it complicates things for the board. I know that's not popular. I've gotten text messages saying so, but that is my position. Thank you.
We do have the policy, if I remember right. The policy is quite in-depth. We have the full control over it. And we also control what goes on the board. The student does not have, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, does not have the full, the same thing as the rest of the board members.
That's
They're
correct.
very controlling on there, so if that wasn't there, I would agree that it would be a problem, so. Go ahead, Leonard.
I'm not sure. I need to ask Annie. Annie, can you look back at the motion I made? Did I say the right policy number? Did I meant to say 548?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I turned the page and saw the next one. Sorry. I thought I read that. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Go ahead, Doug.
I'm fine to vote for this. I do like the clause at the end, the program can be discontinued by majority vote of the board at any time. So if it doesn't work out, discontinue it, but there was definitely some students to be involved. So I say we give it a chance.
Okay. Also, the students do not stay in for any length of time. I forget what the,
Semester. It's a semester.
just a semester. So that will change things as well. And we'll find out
They
if the
can
student.
continue if nobody else wants it,
Correct.
but only if that's the case.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Catherine.
It looks like this will go forward and that's fine. But I think it's important too, while we're doing this, that not just the, achieving students and those that, are high achievers get an opportunity to do this. I think we need to hear from those on the fringe and for all students, every area of the student body. I really believe that it shouldn't just be the high achievers. I want to know what's going on throughout the whole school. So thank you. But that's important, I think, to make sure that we're hearing from all students.
Yeah, I don't think that's unreasonable. But I do hope if you, any board members, and you're welcome to, if you're talking to a student, make sure they understand there's going to be some work. They're going to have to do just like board with policies, bylaws, NRS regulations, and state code of ethics. They just will have to learn them. It would be good for their experience. So make sure it's clear. It's not going to be sitting here all peachy keen, Leonard.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in this policy, though, we do have, they must maintain good academic standing. So it might knock some of the kids out if they're not in good academic standing and positive behavior throughout the term. But I would also encourage students just to come speak. They don't have to be on this. If they want to come talk, we should open the door and welcome them in to come talk to us.
I agree. Anybody else? Anyone else? Okay, we got a motion on the floor. And second, take vote. All in favor for the second reading, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, 5-2. Annie, did you get everybody? Okay, thank you. Just stop me if you miss somebody's name or something. Okay, threat assessment team, discussion and for possible action. Jeannie,
So again, this is a second reading. So we went through this at the last meeting and we made the edits as you had suggested.
it doesn't say that on there.
Yes, yeah, it does.
On the policy, there's corrections. On the policy itself.
Oh, in here. Okay, it's a, I'll believe you.
I've got
Carrie would lie to me. See, he says it's right there.
I have a comment.
Any comments? So Linda.
Yeah, on this, I was looking through it, and again, it's a little, I don't know if it's wordsmithing or what, but there's numbers 1 through 7 and 5. Is 5 continuing on to 6? Can you see that? Because it's a lowercase t for 2, and should 7 be 6? I'm not sure, or do we put a period at the end of agencies? And then number 6 is to request additional. Do you see how that runs on? That's just, I'm not sure where it's supposed to go there.
No period, no capital.
Yeah.
cap
Looks
on
like
those.
the 6.
That is number
should
6
be
then?
Removed, and
Oh.
that's all part of number.
That's all
5.
part 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
And then on the next one,
7
also,
would be 6.
yes. And then on the next, the regulation, the AR, on the next page we have,
Mhm.
it goes through the same thing, same correction. And also there's a 1 thrown in there,
Yeah, that's.
but I
right.
don't see a 2 anywhere.
We'll
So,
fix that.
okay, that was it. That was all I had.
Thank you. So those are basically clerical errors. So if you'd like to continue with your motion and your vote, I believe that's appropriate.
I would like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
No, that was it. I think that was the previous one.
Oh, right.
I would like, I make a motion that the board accept board policy number 524 regarding the threat assessment team with the corrections that were just stated.
Do we have to do the AR separate, or is that all in the motion?
You are only responsible for board policy. ARs are our responsibility, but we included that for you in this case so that you could see how we were going to carry out the board policy.
I will second.
Carrie made a motion. Who's, trustee Wagstaff, second? No discussion? Okay. Take vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
7-0. Information technology, you're on. Hey, while this is getting ready, I got a question on this bullying report. What, yeah, we didn't talk about that. Can we come back to that?
Oh, was that the consent item?
Yeah. I just want to talk about it. I don't want to change it.
I had a question too, now that you mentioned, I did have a question on that report as well.
Okay.
So at some point.
Everybody okay with coming back to that just for short discussion after?
He's still preparing.
Okay.
Maybe we should.
You can ask your question.
Well, I think it was, I think it was Gardnerville Elementary.
Mhm.
What happened?
So that was an error. So if you look in your red folder.
Okay,
the
that I was gonna,
updated bully,
yes.
report numbers are in there.
In
So
the red
also the
folder.
community understands there's a updated document that's been
There's an
attached
addendum.
online to the agenda.
Okay, got it.
It was the way the numbers
We
were
just checking to
pulled.
see if we were paying
We
attention.
were. Thank you for reading through your packet. We appreciate that.
Yes, that was my question as well, as what was going on there?
Okay, you ready?
Can I say something else too about the
Yeah.
bullying?
Oh, I'm
since
sorry.
we're on that?
Yeah,
That's
go ahead.
okay. I also noticed that the majority of the suspensions were for substances. I
I've
think,
seen that too.
it seems to me, it appears we have a huge problem with, vaping. Mr. Alvarado, I'm saying this for you. Is that we have a huge vaping problem. Vapes have gotten to be this big and they can put them in their sleeves and, it's just a problem. I think that's something that according to this bullying report, there's a couple instances of alcohol, but whatever.
And a
And-
substantial amount of vaping is THC.
Yeah, a lot of it when we sit in expulsions, it's the THC vaping. So hopefully that will be something we can discuss later on.
Let's
Just a comment.
clarify that vaping is not just vaping, it's controlled substance vaping.
Right.
And
That's what
so
that's what I just said.
we
It's
have
with,
both. I'm sorry.
that's what I just said. It's with THC. It's it's a vaping with THC. Yeah, but it's a problem, but I don't think it's just a problem here either. I think it's a problem everywhere. So anyways, in that report, you'll see that's the major issues with expulsions or suspensions. Thank you.
All right.
You're on.
Thank you, President Burns, and welcome, Mr. Alvarado. So I'd like to thank everyone on the technology team, Ashley, Jesse, Justin, Dennis, Bernie, Becky, Patrick. So we've been working on many different projects throughout all the schools. And you can see here on the first slide, we have pictures of a network switch, interactive touch panels, laptops, security cameras, you name it. And I'll go through each one of these things in each one of these slides. So the second slide, we've been working on indoor security cameras in all the schools and outdoor cameras. And in fact, if you want to see what one looks like, there's one just above my head here. We have some security domes and we also have some four-way cameras. So it'd be one camera with 4 cameras pointing in all different directions. And we have these pointed in like Douglas parking lots, pointed all different directions, even pointed at the crosswalk too. So we've been upgrading cameras, we've been adding cameras. And if you look at the next slide, you'll see a new one that we added at Powaloo. In some cases, we leave the old ones up and then we just add new ones. So at least maybe you get a little bit better of an angle, a little bit more, but they're high definition, they have night vision, they're very high tech. If you look at the next slide, this is here in Douglas High School. This is one of the cameras in the large gym. We've also upgraded in the small gym as well. And if you look at the next slide here, this one is at CVMS, and we've actually, I don't want to give away too many of our secrets, but in some cases, this looks like an outdoor camera. This is actually inside in a window. And it actually protects the cameras because when they're outside, they get weathered in the plastic yellows. And we actually buy a lot of plastic domes to go outside and we constantly replace them so it's clear. And this is actually a really good way to save money and it protects the cameras too. Okay, you can go down to the next slide, please. And so we have one of these here at Douglas High School. This is a storage attached network. And this is what stores all of our video. We actually store everything in-house. And to give you an idea of how much storage just Douglas High School gets, 116 million floppy disks worth of data, if you can imagine that piled. And that's just this school. So we have over 150 cameras just at Douglas High School. And we can retrieve video, going back, a couple of weeks, at least 2 weeks. And just to give you an idea of what the storage looks like. So we have, 13 schools, and we even have cameras at the airport location as well too. Okay, go down. So network switches are what run our network. So even though, you think, well, we have lots of wireless laptops and, devices and things like that, but the wireless itself, the access points run on Ethernet cables, and so do our phones and our printers and other network devices. And so our switches, since I started here, there are many that were old, and they do have an end of life where, you can't get updates, and it also creates, security vulnerabilities, issues, and things like that. And so Jesse especially has been working on upgrading switches throughout the district. This is a picture of what one of them looks like. This is a 48 port Aruba switch. So he's been going in the network closets throughout the schools and upgrading them. It's a really big project. And interactive touch panels. Dennis and I put up 2 today in building 700. We've been putting them up at Wattell High School. We've been upgrading panels that are much older, that the touch isn't really working that great. We've been upgrading rooms that have projectors that are very old, aging. Sometimes these screens, they go bad, they're under warranty, so we get them replaced for free, but we still have to take down the old one and send back the broken one. So in this slide, there's just an example of some of the ones that we've put up. So we just recently purchased 13 for Wattell, 2 for Minden Elementary School. We put 2 up this year for Heritage. Douglas, we just purchased 4 that we just received a couple of days ago, and we just started putting up 2 today. We still have 3 more to go. Okay, next slide. Computer refresh projects. So we tend to cycle through different schools. We don't change all the computers at all the schools all at once. We definitely don't have the money for that or the resources to do that. So we focus on a couple of schools at a time. It's part of our plan. So the ones that the sites that have the oldest machines get the refresh. And one of the things that we're looking at doing now is, instead of issuing a teacher a Chromebook and then having a desktop or 2 desktops in a classroom, would just be to issue a teacher a PC. And we would have a monitor, a docking station in the classroom, and it would actually save us a lot of money. Some of it's for software licensing and just managing all the equipment and things like that. So we just recently purchased 100 Dell laptops, just like the one in the photo, and then there's a docking station just under. So in the classroom, there would be a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor, or in some cases 2 monitors. And so that's the refresh project that's currently going on right now. And we have lots of servers in our network closets that basically run the district, whether it's the financials or it's the phones, anything, the security cameras. And those servers also need to be upgraded the same way that you would upgrade your personal computer from Windows 10 to Windows 11. So there's older versions of the server versions of Windows, and we're in the process of upgrading those too. And those are also big projects for us because there's quite a lot of them. And this is some good Chromebook news. Student devices are Chromebooks, and we actually have thousands and thousands of Chromebooks. And they kind of have, I'll call it like a ticking time bomb. They have a certain amount of life. And once you reach that point, they're really not useful to a school anymore because they're ineligible for updates. And imagine you had a test you had to give, and suppose it needed that update, but you couldn't update it. Well, what do you do? So those kind of Chromebooks might be good for your home if you were just going on YouTube, checking the weather or something, but you couldn't rely on them for a school type of situation. So Google was very generous to just people around the world, and they decided to increase the number of years that you could get updates. They didn't have to do it. They just did it to be nice. And it actually saved us thousands and thousands of dollars to replace Chromebooks. So although our Chromebooks are getting older, and we do replace batteries and screens and keyboards and things like that as they break, we're able to still retain and use thousands of Chromebooks that ordinarily we actually were planning on getting rid of because they would have been end of life, but now they're not. So that was the good news for the Chromebooks. Jacobson, we came up with a better solution for them for their computer needs. They were actually using some PC Windows-based devices that were emulating the Chrome operating system to make their computers like a Chromebook. And for their situation there, we decided that really wasn't the best move. So we changed all their devices to those extra Chromebooks that we had that ordinarily we would have had to have gotten rid of. They're actually still good. And we replaced all their monitors with brand new large 27-inch MSI monitors because they wanted to be able to monitor what the students are doing. So the Chromebooks are actually, the lids are shut and they're using just the 27-inch monitor so they can keep a close eye on what they're doing at Jacobs. And this is something that Ashley especially worked on, but we all worked on in the office. This is the AUP for staff and for students. I realize this is very small and you can't see it, but we kind of went over some guidelines and updated it to kind of bring it to, I would say, technology changes all the time, and we really wanted to capture what's important, like acceptable use policy, using our devices, using our network, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. You know, obviously, you know, you shouldn't use the computer to access, you know, naughty things. You shouldn't break into the network. You shouldn't, you know, do things like that. And, you know, as far as like passwords and things like that. And that'll actually come on another slide, which it'll be further.
Can I ask?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Tom Humphrey. Can they be hacked into? Can our system be hacked into it with the cameras and stuff because it's wireless?
So the camera server is password protected. You would need to know a lot of information in order to get into it. Anything can be hacked with the amount of resources and things like that. And we'll actually come to that in some of the other slides. We've actually signed some contracts with different companies that like IBM, Microsoft, things would use to actually monitor the network, monitor devices. It's a firewall. It's an active scanner that's always running. It uses artificial intelligence. It uses all different kinds of things and known vulnerabilities. And the really good thing about that is that as soon as there's a known vulnerability, because we have this contract with them, the second that they're aware of it, they're also scanning our network for it and scanning our devices. So literally, as soon as they find out, all of their customers, and so CrowdStrike is one of the companies that we signed up with. That's actually one of the slides, and we did invest quite a bit of money in it, but it is well worth it. Just one ransomware attack or some kind of a shutdown, some kind of attack that we could theoretically get. The amount of money that we spent to protect ourselves from that is definitely well worth it, in my opinion, and many others' opinion too. This particular slide, not a lot of people would know this, but Douglas County Schools owns fiber optic cable connecting from the airport location to many of our schools. This is just with the exception of like the lake and also Jacks Valley, but all the other schools, they're all connected with fiber optic cable that we own. So we're like a utility. So anytime someone is digging, like all this road construction that's going on, or someone's doing some construction at their house, we get 811 dig tickets, no different than a gas company or an electric company or water company. And we have to go out and physically mark it with flags and paint. And sometimes, in some cases, we have to go out there immediately. Like there was one that we got, there was a gas line that, got hit, someone was digging, and we had to go out there because they were going to dig to try to fix it. And we had to be there like immediately. So we have special tools. It almost looks like a metal detector, but we have to scan and mark with paint and flags. And so this picture is just a small amount of some of the dig tickets that we get. So we go out and you'll see us out there with vests around town. So that's one of the things that we do. There was some type of grant that wasn't one that I applied for, but that we got to purchase 625 handheld radios. And these are going to be in every school. They're already here at DHS, they're programmed, and different departments have different channels. So you might find one for the nurse, you might find one, for facilities or something like that, or for any different department, but there's an emergency channel on here. And that's the important thing. So in the event that there's an emergency and the internet and the phones are out or something like that, there can be calls made, announcements to, from the administration or from teachers, to the rest of the school. And we also were able to purchase some of those bank chargers. So they're, like suppose you had an office and you didn't want to have chargers just all over counters, so you can charge 6 at a time. So you'll see that here in Douglas High School office and other schools as well. And audio enhancement systems. So this room is equipped with audio enhancement systems. That's the speakers in the ceilings that you're hearing. And many of the classrooms have this as well. And they use handheld mics, very similar to these. These are audio enhancement wireless mics. And there's also pendant mics that they wear as a necklace. And, throughout the years, some of the microphones have been lost or damaged or things like that. But there was quite an investment to put these rooms, to get them to work, thousands of dollars. The wiring, the speakers, the amplifiers, the microphones, it was quite a lot of work. And then just because a microphone isn't working or it's lost, can you imagine not using it? So we've been working really hard at getting replacement microphones, and some of them are old models. It's hard to get parts. So we've been revamping as many rooms as we can with replacement wireless microphones and other pieces as we needed them. This is brand new. We have lots of network printers and copiers throughout the district. And, to get someone to print on one, we had a couple of different methods to get it to work. Some a little more tedious, time consuming. In some cases, users would need to call us if they needed help to add a printer. We just purchased a subscription with the service here. It's called Printer Logic. And what it does is it takes all of our printers and it puts it in one place. So any user can just see a site. They pick Douglas High School, for example, and they'll see every printer. It'll have the brand, the model, where it is, and you just click it and the printer's added. You can print to it immediately. There's less phone calls that we'll have in the tech office. It'll relieve a lot of frustration for teachers, or if people are traveling between different schools, maybe they always print to one printer in their office or their school, but then, maybe someone from district office, they're visiting here and they need to print to that printer. It would make it very, very, very easy to add. So this would be like on their toolbar in Google Chrome, very easy to add a network printer. So this is a really cool thing. Oh, absolutely.
That's not available for students, correct?
I don't believe it's enabled for them. They
Okay.
they know about certain printers that they could add, for example, like here.
Right.
They could add particular printers, but this is enabled for staff.
Okay, just making sure.
And this one here is a federal program through USAC, Universal Services. Universal Services funds things for schools and libraries, ranging from internet to network-related devices. So this here is a funding commitment decision letter. This particular one is, there's 2 slides. One of them is for our internet at our schools. They pay a certain percentage of our internet. And then that's category 1. Category 1 is the internet that we get through Spectrum. And category 2 is equipment. So for our switch replacement project. So when I started here, the switches were already purchased. They were in the office, but we needed lots of cabling, thousands of cables, network cables. We needed stacking cables for the switches. We needed SFP modules that go into the switches. We needed battery backups inside of our network closets. Sometimes, like as the power flickers, the equipment would just turn off, and that could cause all kinds of problems. It could damage the equipment. Students are in the middle of an exam and, an online exam, something like that. So what we did was we purchased different types of battery backup systems that would go in every network closet to keep the equipment running at least for several minutes. So that's what this slide is here. And,
What was the total commitment? Is this a different total commitment on this one?
yes. So there's
Oh,
money.
Okay, I got that.
Yeah, there's money from category 1, which is the money that's which is for the internet, and then category 2.
Okay, it's not on our printer.
Okay, I see.
Got
Yep.
cut off. That's all.
Oh, I
Thank
see.
you.
And I'm really excited for this here. We have new bell systems for different schools. And again, this is kind of no different than our computer refresh project. It would really be impossible financially for us to get new bell systems, all the same model at all the schools at all the same time. And it also takes the vendor time to install it and do things like that too. So Wattel just finished their bell system, new bell system. Their system, I think, was from the 1970s, if you can believe that. And so it was really outdated. So, now it's state of the art. It's actually newer than the system here at Douglas. But we do have new systems as you can see on the presentation, Minden, Pinion Hill, Scarcelli, and Carson Valley, and Powalloo. So Whitell just joined them with a new system. And this was the slide about CrowdStrike. So CrowdStrike is just one of the solutions that we recently implemented. It basically installs a service on every Windows device in the district. It runs in the background. It is a firewall. It is looking for malware, all different types of attacks, and it's constantly scanning the network. And it's a really important product that we purchased. And this is just more about CrowdStrike. So we can go to the next slide. And this is about Infinite Campus. There's been some discussion about Infinite Campus, and I just wanted to touch on it. So Nevada adopted it in 2016. I'd actually never used it before I came here. I used PowerSchool, and this district used to use PowerSchool before Infinite Campus, but they're very similar student information systems. And what's in this slide and also in the next slide is that Nevada decided that all school districts will use Infinite Campus. So it was kind of like a state decision. They said, this is what is going to be used and you're going to use it. Now, as far as some other things that have been brought up about, student data and retention and things like that, what data we, keep and maybe not keep, I'm interested in actually hearing about, those kind of things. If the state or Department of Education tells us that we can remove certain data, old data, irrelevant data, or whatever it is, and they give us that instruction, we absolutely could. As far as us doing it on our own or something like that, that might be a stretch and maybe a road that you may not want to cross. And if you go to the next slide, so this is on some official letterhead for basically Department of Education type of things, and this was kind of, in my opinion, this is kind of like their decree, if you so to speak, where they say, hey, like school districts are going to use Infinite Campus, and that's what it is. So and I kind of understand the reasoning behind it is because there are some states and some areas where schools can choose what they use, but it would be very inefficient in the sense that suppose you'd have one student transferring within the same state and things wouldn't line up. And there's also very important state reporting that's required. And the student information system that you use will generate that report. And so it's kind of like they say, hey, everyone uses the same thing, and this is the way that it's going to work, probably in the same way that you might find like in a hospital system or in a banking system, that there is a standard, and that's what it is. But when it comes to what was brought up previously about the data, if there was instruction from the Department of Education, from the state, and they said, hey, this is what you should do, then yes, that's something that could definitely be implemented.
Now, you're going to bring that to the board if that happens, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yes, superintendent board, yes. If there is direction like that's mandated, we would have to do it. On the other hand, they could also say that if you wanted to, that you could do it. If we got that type of direction, and if the board or the superintendent combination wanted to do it, and we were directed to do that in the department, we would definitely do that, of course.
We've already heard enough about that. There's a lot of people that's very concerned about kids getting their personal information getting out to just about anybody. You've already heard that.
And I would say to a certain extent, I agree with that. I do, but I wouldn't make any decision without hearing something from like a higher authority first, and I'd recommend that. And if you guys feel strongly about that as a board or even individually, and you talk to the Department of Education, you talk to the state, and you said, hey, this is something that we'd like to get some direction from you, and if they agreed, that would be great.
I think it's just really important that we protect data for our children that follows them forever. Infinite Campus is an enormous database collection system, and a lot of people, and it's growing. Is it possible to get the documents that we don't have outside of these that show the rules and how this all, can you get those to me anyway?
Oh, the ones that were inside the presentation, you mean like blown up?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
But I can't hardly read and everything.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'd appreciate that.
Sure, absolutely. Does anybody have any questions about anything tech related?
Have you completed?
Oh, I think that is that the last, here, and just the last slide was just projects for this upcoming year, which we've, already just started. We have, more cameras. We're in the process of ordering roughly 50 or 60 more, and we're doing them, we don't want to order, 300 and then, sit on them. So we order a bunch at a time and install them. And we still have more network switches to upgrade. Many schools have been upgraded, but some are still in the process. Interactive panels, we're still installing and ordering. One thing is a lot of the schools have really old network wiring, and it's just kind of, it really should be changed, and it is going to be a really big project. Maybe not even something that we could easily do ourselves as a department. We may want to contract that out. We actually met with the company that made the bell system for Douglas High School, which is a different company than the new bell systems that we've been installing, their competitors. And they were talking to us about upgrading some of the components here rather than just getting a whole new system, and it would be cost effective. We're looking into that. It would save us a lot, and we could still keep the existing system. So we're still thinking about that. We're waiting on getting quotes and finding out more information about it. They did do a presentation in our office. And also looking at bell systems throughout the district. There's a couple schools that we still need to upgrade. And we're also going to be working on putting temperature monitors in all of the chillers and freezers in the schools. So this way to prevent, food loss in case a freezer breaks and we wouldn't know, or there's a power outage or something like that. Yeah, and I think, that's the last slide.
Great presentation. Thank you, Michael. That was really good. I do have a couple of questions. What's on the touch panels? I guess I just don't know what
sure.
type of things are on that touch panel.
Sure.
Just
So
an example.
a touch panel is actually, think of it as just a mouse. So really what it does is it turns, so you have a Windows-based computer, you go up to it and you start touching and it just moves your mouse around.
Okay.
So if you want to, you could write on it, just like instead of having a chalkboard or a marker board or anything like that. So you could use it like that. If you're in a PowerPoint presentation, instead of having a mouse and walking up to it, you can press buttons and do things. There's a lot of web pages that are interactive like that, with especially like for young kids. You can go up there, it's very tactile.
So it's kind of like the Promethean boards that we.
That's exactly what it is. In fact, a lot of the brands that we've been purchasing, they're the competitor to Promethean, and we're upgrading the old Promethean boards. The brand that we've been purchasing lately, because we've been getting very good pricing on it, is a New Line. New Line is the brand.
Okay. The other question I have is when you showed the handheld radios for emergencies, are we tied into the sheriff's department in any of the things that you've shown us?
So the answer is.
Should we talk about? Can we talk about that?
The answer is the administrators will have some access to something.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll leave it at that. But definitely, we've been working very closely with the officers here in the school, as far as use and programming and etiquette and things like that, and testing to make sure that it reaches where it needs to reach.
Okay.
And programming different frequencies for different schools, and the administrators would have access to all of the frequencies, so they'd be able to hear, like the bus, for example, they'd be able to hear facilities maintenance, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then different radios would have different like levels of privilege. So for example, a teacher would have office and emergency only, and different people would just have different levels of which, so there's different programming for different radios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. And I had one other question. I know you have the panels like what in different schools where they can see different areas in the school, correct? Like you showed us the gym and cameras are there.
Mhm.
Is there somebody in our district that at each school or something that watches these things? Is it at the front desk or, you know what I'm saying? Like you see in the casinos, you see the whole room of, security. I know
So-
we're not that big, but.
So the officers do have large television sets, so they're, some of them 50 inches, 60 inches in their office, and
Okay.
they do watch. Some of the schools, not all of them, have cameras at the entry door to get buzzed in,
Mhm.
and we've added those cameras into the system, so they're also recording as well. And so a lot of secretaries have a buzzer on their desk or something like that, so they're actively watching that. Douglas High School, we added a few cameras to the front. So if you're ever at the front, you'll see that there's they have access to the one on the bell to buzzer to come in. There's another camera on the door. There's another camera that kind of faces 700 in case they need to buzz someone in over there.
Okay.
And so different people, different cameras. The school cops, they have access to see. Generally, I would say in most cases, like for example, Douglas High School has more than 150 cameras. There would be no way to view them all at the same time.
Okay.
Generally, maybe an incident happens and we go back and we look to see. Yeah.
And then my last question is, where are we with AI in the school district?
That's a good question. So as far at the lake, they were really interested and they did purchase a license for teacher use. It is fairly new. Some of that actually is going to, you would find some of that in our acceptable use policy and things like that. Like as far as like shouldn't cheat, things like that, that would be in the acceptable use policy. AI is the way of the future. So for educational use, for staff, teachers, that type of thing, definitely allowed, definitely permissible, and it is being used, not throughout the district, but it is recent. And as far as student use at the moment, very limited, if any.
I want to thank you again. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Very welcome.
I do have a concern that students will rely on AI and not do the actual work themselves, and that's a problem, so that's a concern for all of us, right?
Yes.
I want to, and I'll talk to this later about bringing up something on the agenda to talk about the 5G tower that's going to be going in right across the street next to a Tractor Supply. That's quite a deal in terms of the effect on students being that close to something that puts off that kind of negative things for their health. So will you come back? Because I went to a thing on that and they're working through that right now and looking to put that over there. And that's a very negative for it to have that close to students, that size of a tower. No, I know it's a micro tower, but they're looking at, I mean, it's in the process.
I understand.
Yeah.
So every type of project like that, you're going to find positives, you're going to find negatives. I would say within our schools, especially because the walls are just so thick and concrete, we have many schools that don't have service inside at all, especially depending on what carrier that you have. And that's one of the reasons why, AT&T, you'll actually find like small repeater type of things in several of the schools. So you have like a safety type concern where, you may not have cell phone service. What if there's an emergency, someone needs to make a call, there's a nurse trying to make a call, one of the officers or something like that. And then, there's people with concerns with the towers, and then hopefully there's some kind of, balance or something like that. Yeah.
You're not supposed to have them within 2,000 feet of residential or any kind of a school or anything like that, because it is proven that they are very damaging to the health of students. It's important to look at that. Okay, well, we'll look at that down the road. I just wanted to kind of put that out there because it's a concern for me. Thank you.
Gotcha.
I'm just gonna make a statement. I think the AI is dangerous. That's just my personal opinion. What's truth? That's what you're looking at. Get AI and I can make Carrie come through and that he's lying about everything, and that's gonna make you mad. Anyway, go ahead.
Is it on?
Yes.
I just want to say thank you for all of your hard work that you obviously are working to improve our schools. As a previous employee, the radio thing, that is wonderful. I think that that is absolutely necessary in the event, heaven forbid, we have anything catastrophic happen at one of our schools. And I think that that is going to be really beneficial for teachers, playground aides, nurses, everybody. So thank you for that, and for the Chromebooks that our students get to use. And Infinite Campus, I think as a parent, I really like it because it notifies me of how my kids are doing in school. You know, I get to see right away as grades go in. So I think Infinite Campus is a really good tool. But yeah, I think we do need to be careful of what is being tracked on our students. So thank you for all your work. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Trustee Jansen, you have anything? I guess not. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Okay. Our guest is here. I'm going to
like to.
You want him- do you want to sit here or you want to walk there? All right, go ahead. Okay, we're back in session. Sorry for the delay. Okay, we have Brian Hardy with us, and I'll let him take it from here and explain. This is on special counsel report on the investigation information only, which is number 4. Mr. Hardy? Pardon? Yeah. Susan, you still there? Susan? Yeah.
I just sent a request to unmute to Susan.
Thank you. I'm here, Dave.
Okay, thank you.
We always love technology. Members of the board, Brian Hardy with the law firm of Marquis Arbach, presenting today our letter of recommendation and report. As you know, we've concluded our special investigation, and as a result of that special investigation, we've reached certain conclusions which are set forth in our report that was provided to you, as well as in a letter, which I'd like to go ahead and read at this time. It says, "Dear members of the Board of Trustees, as an initial matter, we would like to compliment you, the Board of Trustees, as well as Acting Superintendent Jeanette Dwyer and Counsel Mr. Gilbert for your cooperation, care, and attentiveness regarding the special investigation. The special investigation focused on issues of profound importance to DCSD and the community. Your commitment to uncovering the truth and ensuring accountability was commendable. Despite differences of opinions on other issues, you have collectively prioritized the best interests of the students and staff in relation to the special investigation. This dedication as a group to justice and transparency should serve to strengthen the integrity of the school of DCSD and serve as an example for others regarding the handling of sensitive and important matters moving forward. Thus, as you continue your critical stewardship, please know that your cooperation and efforts regarding the special investigation are recognized and valued and show a deep commitment to the well-being of the DCSD. By way of a recap, on November 7th, 2023, Marky Arbach was appointed to serve as special counsel for the DCSD and Board of Trustees. Per the appointment, we were authorized to conduct an exhaustive and unbiased investigation into a myriad of allegations involving the DCSD employees, staff, parents, and students. More specifically, we were authorized to investigate allegations that there existed and still exists within the DCSD an atmosphere and environment of favoritism, nepotism, retaliation, intimidation, harassment, sexual misconduct, grooming, bullying, and hazing. In regard to these allegations, we investigated whether there were violations of state and federal law where parties involved were mandated to report, investigate, and resolve such matters and failed to do so, and or whether there was interference, disruption, and impartial, incomplete, or ineffective investigations related to the allegations. Although the special investigation spanned various matters, it primarily focused on the sexual harassment complaints of 11 DCSD female employees made against a male DCSD employee. Our investigation resulted in detailed factual findings and analysis, conclusions, and recommendations. We provided DCSD counsel with a confidential special report. However, the evidence we analyzed was provided confidentially and pursuant to the attorney-client privilege, which privilege we cannot waive. Further, due to the personal and confidential natures of the complaints and the potential for ongoing DCSD investigations, we are not in a position to provide the special counsel report to the public. Nevertheless, we are comfortable sharing some of the general recommendations we made, which are: 1, we recommend a thorough review of the policies, regulations related to record keeping and retention. And if necessary, we recommend preparing and adopting additional policies and regulations related to appropriate record keeping and retention. 2, we also recommend continuing training related to the proper record keeping and record retention. 3, we recommend a thorough review of policies, regulations related to conducting and documenting employee performance reviews. And if necessary, we recommend preparing and adopting additional policies and regulations related to conducting and documenting employee performance reviews. 4, we also recommend continued training related to conducting and documenting employee performance reviews. 5, we recommend a thorough review of policies and regulations related to the hierarchy of reporting and recording incidents and complaints, whether staff, student, parent, etc. And if necessary, we recommend preparing and adopting additional policies and regulations related to the appropriate hierarchy of reporting and recording incidents and complaints. We also recommend continued training related to the hierarchy of reporting and recording incidences and complaints. We recommend a thorough review of policies, regulations related to internal reporting, conducting and documenting investigations of complaints. And if necessary, we recommend preparing and adopting additional policies and regulations related to internal reporting, conducting and documenting investigations of complaints. We also recommend continued training related to internal reporting, conducting and documenting investigations of complaints. 9, we recommend a thorough review of policies, regulations related to sexual harassment, including the content and frequency of DCSD's sexual harassment training, related reporting and investigation surrounding sexual harassment allegations, and discipline. 10, we also recommend continued training related to sexual harassment consistent with DCSD policies, regulations that meets or exceed currently accepted standards. Thank you once again for your steadfast dedication and for rising to meet the significant challenges surrounding the special investigation with integrity and compassion. Your leadership is instrumental in guiding the DCSD towards an even brighter future. It is such leadership coupled with diligence, unity, vigilance, and a care of the students, staff, and community that will lead to meaningful improvements. Unless the board tells us there is additional investigation or reporting needed, the special investigation is concluded. Sincerely, and it identifies myself, Nick Crosby, and Ty Hansine as the investigators in this matter. I would like to note that at this point in time, the investigation is concluded, and that we look forward to the fact that these incidences have been resolved, and that we hope going forward, and we're excited to hear about the new superintendent, and we commend him with these 10 items, and hope that going forward, you can implement the recommendations that we've made. And we look forward to hopefully eliminating any future issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Joey, do you have anything additional? No? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here and for the investigation. We appreciate your input. And I'm sure our new superintendent is going to be all over this.
The superintendent's been amazing. It's been a pleasure to meet with him, and I look forward to his diligent work in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're number 9. I'm just gonna say this to start, and then anybody else can comment. I just don't see enough information for me. I'm talking for me. I don't see enough information. So I would prefer that, this is my opinion, that the board's choice, do what they want. My opinion, I would like to see far more information about this in order to know enough about it to make any decisions one way or another. So I just feel like I really personally don't want to discuss it because I don't have the information to discuss. That's just me. So if anybody else says anything, Catherine?
Yes, I did go through this extensively, and one of my concerns about this, in addition to not having information that really explains it to me, it's pretty kind of wide open and open-ended. You know, I don't know what a lot of it actually means with all, it's like kind of like legal speak, but it looks to me like as if we aren't losing our sovereignty as a school district in this county, that even more will be given to the state and legislature in terms of how we educate our children. I think that teachers, we're more and more taking away that creative ability for teachers to make a difference based on their own gifts. And it just is more cogs in the wheel. And I'm uncomfortable with giving yet more power to the state in how we do everything in this district. So I don't have enough information to even address this today. So I'd like to table this. Thank you.
Okay, Jeannie, go ahead. I should have went right to you from me, so I'm sorry.
Yeah, for sure. I would love to give you more information on this. And Catherine, it's quite the opposite of what you think. So it's not that, and it's to help with that. So the intent of this, because policymakers and legislatures oftentimes have, the only requirement is to have a high school education, right? Anybody can sit and go and run and create laws that affect our students in education. So what this is asking, so the Nevada State Superintendents got together to propose that districts have a say, can help inform, can help educate our legislature on the laws that they are making and passing down to districts and making us do the things that we do. They're asking for full funded mandates. So we talk all the time about unfunded mandates, right? Or really low funded mandates. So they put these laws in place and they say you have to provide this level of education to students that are gifted and talented, but they don't fund it. They don't give us. So they tell us you have to do these things, but they don't give us funding for the cost of doing those things. Does that make sense? So what this is saying is that our district supports all the superintendents in Nevada being able to go to the legislature and inform them and educate them and help them understand how the laws they make affect us in our districts and in our schools. So it's exactly what you're saying you're afraid they're doing. They're going to make sure that doesn't happen. That's the point.
Okay. I would like a lot more information on this because it does appear to be giving more power at the end of the day to the legislature to just because they're willing to fund things that they mandate. I'm not a big fan of a lot of what's mandated to begin with. Put on teachers. I'm not a fan of a lot of it. I think it sucks up a lot of time for teachers, and it kind of reflects in where we are as far as
This isn't giving them power. This doesn't give anybody power. This supports superintendents informing legislature.
Jeannie, I don't think I know I'm not arguing or against it.
No.
It's just that if I'm going to, if I'm going to agree to something, I really want to know what's going on with it, because you know that we're gonna get questioned about that as individuals, and I want to be able to answer it truthfully. Two things. One is that, the other thing is Mr. Alvarado, to bring him up to speed. Is this something that we could put off for next month?
So Lyon County has adopted this is the exact resolution that they adopted. Story County has, and so I attend all of the state superintendent meetings, and so I am up to speed. I've actually done some of the work to help put this together, this document together. And so I can answer your questions and I can give you information. And so I mean, ask, what do you need more information about?
Well, for me, it's the 2025 legislature will play a pivotal role in strengthening Nevada's educational landscape. Pretty involved there, and outcomes by addressing and passing legislation that all students receive an equitable level of support, no matter zip code or circumstance. Well, we're already doing that with the bill that was passed 543. They're dispersing money based on that. Just by that one statement alone, the 2025 legislature will play a pivotal role in strengthening Nevada's educational landscape and outcomes. That to me tells me that that's a lot of that is not just them listening, that they are stepping in as something that's going to shape a lot of what's going on. And I'm really adamant that we talk about our wonderful little community. It's intimate, it's a special little community, and we need to keep it that way. And so anytime that I have a red light go off, I'm just saying that I would just like a little more time myself to look into all aspects of this.
And so what you just said is the intent of this work, is so that they will value the zip code that you live in, right? That legislature's not putting laws in place that really affect Clark County or Washoe County, right? Our big counties. That's exactly the point of this, is to say that they will consider all of Nevada, all of our districts, and all of our values, and take those into consideration when they are making laws that will or will not strengthen our education system.
Well, what's pushed down through the state actually affects rural schools, Reno, whatever. So we know that. I mean, I like to be really honest about that, and that if they say that we have to do a certain thing that we absolutely feel is probably not in the best interest of students, we have to do that. So there's already that state, right up close and personal, breathing down the neck of teachers as to what they teach. I'm just saying that I value the uniqueness of teachers. You go back and say, oh my gosh, I had this teacher that took a whole nother way to teach me this thing, and I got it. And by being a cog in a wheel and just going with all these little, I just need more. Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to say, by you signing this, it's basically giving Frankie your permission to share the way you feel about education in our county with the legislature. So by that's the intent of this. You have lots of hands raised though.
Yeah.
Let some other people talk, right? It's okay.
You made a comment though before we move on. Are you aware, do you know about this?
Well, so I had an opportunity to review this right now. What I see is exactly what Jeannie said, the ability for me to represent the district at the state level and share through legislative action what we'd like to see happen statewide. There is on the second page here, the second paragraph, a commitment to investing in school mental health professionals and resources for students and staff. So that's something that the board needs to discuss and provide direction on.
Okay. Who had their hand?
I think.
Do you want me to go? I'll go.
Okay. Mine's very short.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
So's mine.
So, oh, is it? Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm
ladies
sorry.
first.
Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, so I think I'd like to say this a different way than maybe you've said it. I don't know, maybe I won't, but to try to explain it to our board that's confused a little bit, maybe, I don't know. But this is actually, the legislature is going to do what they want to do about education. Okay, that's not, we're not giving the legislature permission. It's the opposite. We know the legislature is going to come in 2025 and they're going to try to do what they want to do. And what Jeannie pointed out is many in our legislature that make our rules of things that the schools have to follow, they're not specialists in it. That some of them are just not just, but high school diplomas only or whatever. They're not educational specialists. So what this document is, they've taken the top of the top in our district, the superintendents, all of them have worked together to put this document together. So if we trust our superintendents, then, and you may not, but this is a document they've worked on to try to strengthen the school districts against legislators and legislation. And the points here that they're wanting to fight for, okay, is funding. Number one, giving us more money, right? We want more money because they've taken a lot away from us. They want a innovative for learner-centered and future-ready system, okay? You know, trying to I can't say that word, trying to give us money to be creative in our schools, to give us extra money for maybe STEM or whatever, CTE possibly. The third one, you know, provides accountability. They need to be accountable to every student, right? To look at the whole child, all our kids. The next one that Superintendent Alvarado pointed out, invest in school mental health for our students and staff. We see what's happening with after the event of COVID, but this is all about if you see funding, provide an investment in safe and sure future ready. It's all about getting them to spend more money. And what Jeannie was saying is they often, I guess I wasn't gonna be short, sorry, Carrie. But what they're saying though, is that when she said unmandated or that they tell us we have to do read by 3 as an example, but they never gave us any money to be able to be successful. The legislature tells us we have to do all kinds of things, but they never give us the money. They just mandate it. And this is our superintendents kind of fighting back a little bit, I guess, and saying, hey, we're the professionals, trust us. And these are investments in what our school district, these are priorities, it says, that reflect the needs of all of our school districts as we prepare to move forward. And that's what this document is. It's nothing nefarious. It's nothing, in my opinion. Okay, that's all. I just wanted to say that. Thank you. I don't know if that helps or hurts.
Is yours short, Karen?
Mine is absolutely shorter. Shorter. If I can remember what I was going to say. No. So this invest the NAS, the Association of Superintendents. Invest is a ongoing thing. I don't know how many times we've seen this. Is it every legislative session, or does it every year that the superintendents get together and they have the points of interest that they would like to provide for our schools and lobby the Board of Education and our senators? Okay, so this is new. There's nothing nefarious about it. It's about all the superintendents getting together, making great decisions for the students of our state, and trying to fight for money and fight for a reason with the things that they are trying to ram down our throats. So I don't think there's anything to be afraid of. I voted on many of these resolutions, and I see nothing but good behind it. And you've got in a nutshell what their position is right now. This is what they're going to try to do. And I don't see anything worrisome. I realize everybody has different opinions, but I kind of liken this to NASB. It's that these are our superintendents. This isn't an organization of outside organization. So I have every bit of faith in my body that this is going to do good for our students.
Doug?
Thank you. So, Jeannie, I don't know if you're the best person to answer this, but how does this play out? Do the superintendents all gather in the beginning of the legislative session? They go and present stuff to the legislature? Does the superintendent come before us and we say, these are things we'd like to see pushed? I mean, how would this play out in a given term?
The superintendents work with lobbyists and they work with the governor's office. And so the governor's office and the lobbyists are present at all of the meetings, the NAS meetings. So the superintendent would work with you and talk to you about these things and to understand your stance, I suppose. Yes, have a collective stance. So I don't know if that would look like an agenda item. Is that what you're asking? Like, so the example was mental health and counselors and social workers. So maybe that's one of the things, like the state puts down legislature that says we have to have more mental health services for students. And we work together publicly to determine what that will look like. And in turn, we understand your opinions on those things. Is that what you're asking?
Well, so you're talking about a lobbyist. Is this lobbyist for all the districts that are involved in this? This one lobbyist meets with the governor and tries to present a cohesive picture from all the different districts. I'm not sure how that.
So we have a lobbyist that works for the Nevada Association of School Superintendents. And then we have people from the governor's office that also attend the NAS meetings. And so we're all in
What I
the
was
same
saying is,
room.
we've got 17 counties, and obviously the smaller districts are different than, say, Washoe and Clark. So when this lobbyist goes in there and presents stuff, are they presenting, I mean, how do we as a smaller district get our voice heard?
So that's a good question. And that is part of why they put together this invest document, because they want all the counties to do it, to be in on it, right? They want every single county to work cohesively. It can't be that just 4 or 5 counties want to do one thing, but the other counties don't agree. So they really want to put all their efforts together and focus on the issues that every single county has and cares about. So that's where these came from, the issues that they have laid out in here that they want to work on together as a state. All counties have gotten together and agreed that these are issues across every single county that needs to be addressed.
So things like where our tax money from this county goes to a central hub now and gets distributed, that's not going to be the battle won or lost at this, because that wouldn't be brought up.
Not necessarily, but they are looking at funding formulas. They're doing studies to see, is it fair? Is it really working for every district? And so they are interested in hearing about that. And Clark and Washoe don't really fight. I think they agree that our smaller districts are struggling with funding. And so, and I think to answer your question, really, the intent of this is that all 17 counties in the Charter School Authority agree for it to go forward.
Well, we have, I know, enough 17 counties, right? Okay, so back to the legislature playing a pivotal role in all of this, provides accountability system that shares the whole student story and measures what matters, who decides what matters, what is the whole student. I mean, we're getting to the point where, I mean, there's only so much school was intended for, and certain things belong at home in the family unit, you know what I mean? But let me finish. The 2025 legislative session is an opportunity to consider what matters most for student success and how to measure it. While we are all tackling measuring what matters this year, we ask the legislators to consider flexibilities or ways to enable schools to show when and how their students are succeeding beyond the current math and ELA standards. So when I say I don't have the information, that means nothing to me. I don't know what they mean by the whole student. I don't know what they mean by their version of what really matters or what's beyond the math and ELA standards. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm a little old school that way, so I just want you to understand my concerns.
Well, and this is the perfect forum to talk about that because I'm sure a lot of the public have the same concerns that you have. So those are very good questions that I can address. And the way the state is really looking at the whole learner is through their initiative, the Portrait of a Learner. So
They're students. Learner is so cold to me. So we're calling them learners now. They're not even the warmth of a student. I can't stand it, but anyway, I'm sorry. I mean,
we all have to have a
Sure,
growth
Mary,
mindset.
yeah.
Yes, we all have to have a growth mindset, right? We need to grow
they're students.
with the world and
I don't know that we do.
and so I think flexibility in testing, flexibility in ways to assess students means we're looking at different options than every student taking the MAP assessment 3 times and taking the SBAC, right? All the state mandated assessments we use to measure growth, right? And so we're also looking at how students exhibit, how they meet standards, not just grades, A, B, C, D, right? But are they really learning? Are they meeting standards? Can a student show me that they can meet the standards verbally or show me through a project that they've learned the standards? They don't have to take a multi-choice test to exhibit to me that they know what they've learned, right? So we're looking at flexibility in assessing student needs. We're looking at how students learn. What's their best way to learn? Are they auditory learners? Are they visual learners? Are they tactile learners? Do they need all of those things to learn? Do they need repetition when they're being taught skills, right? So that's what they're looking at. We haven't always looked at those things as a state. As a state, we've always just said, we want to know if they can read, write, and count and, do geometry and algebra. Right. And so, and they need to be college ready. And, now we're going to college and career ready, and we're trying to build our CTE programming. And so that really just encompasses that, the whole child.
I just think that we're so busy collecting data and doing all these little boutique teaching things and flavor of the week. And I mean, how can teachers keep up with this? For goodness sake, there are some things that are absolute, that are about 1, 2, 3s and ABCs. And I think we've gotten so far away from that. I'm just not, that's just where I'm at, but thank you.
And I just,
for explaining that.
yeah, I think that they're trying to do away with that, exactly what you're saying. They're trying to decrease the number of tests that we're giving students, because I think that is the concern. Also, that goes along with that, the state requires districts to provide hundreds of reports of sometimes the same data, they're just in different reports. So we feel it. It's so frustrating. We have offices of 4 people preparing reports for a living. That's all they do. And so we're trying to look at different ways of reporting data and consolidating data and who we're reporting it to and why are we even reporting that data. So
Yeah,
I agree with you.
Data. Thank you.
Well, and the
So,
bottom line.
it's the work
is-
they're doing.
The bottom line when it comes to the students and getting their grades and everything, we do need the testing. We do need scoring because the parents want to know how their kids are doing. And if we don't have something like that to actually show them, I don't think we're going to ever get away with getting rid of that. But I want to throw something out at both of you. If you guys really want, for me, what you want, add a board member from each school district with the superintendent. Because that board member then can take the position with the rest of the board members at their district and actually give support to the superintendent in what their decisions are. Does that make sense? Just one, and they don't have to be heavily involved in it. They just need to know what's going on, because superintendent, but the board is the one that will, need to really know. I think that's what's going on here. We want, I know I do. I want to know more.
Don't we have a committee for that, sorry, a legislative appointment
But is
during
that, is that
legislative
something that,
session?
are they actually working with the superintendent? Just one? Think about it. And maybe you want to talk to the rest of the superintendent.
That sounds like really great homework for Frankie.
There you go. Welcome to.
That's the way he'll get to know.
No,
the rest of
that's
them.
good work. That's actually the good work that we like to do.
Yeah.
So I think that would be
Just a
welcome.
thought, throw it out there, so. But.
Mr. Burns.
Doug?
Oh.
No, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to speak as a parent to what you just said. While grades, yes, are very important so that as a parent, I understand where my kids are at. Sometimes it's not about the grade. It's not about how well they tested, because that's just memorization and can I spit the information back out? But what are they doing with that information? Are they taking that information and saying, you know what, I really want to learn about glue. How is glue made? Why? How did it come to be? Where did it come from? Like all of the information that they can then take what I've taught them and then utilize it to learn something on their own. That's where I see my kids excelling. And I go, oh, they didn't do well on that test, but you know what? They got it. That's, I think, what we're trying to get towards is not testing. Testing, you can test all day, but there are kids that do not test well. I was one of those kids. I did not test well, but I could do a presentation. I could verbally tell you what I learned, but when you put a piece of paper and a pen in front of me, yeah, my mind goes completely blank. So I think we have to take those things, and I think where Invest is headed with trying to have children, our students, our learners, whatever you want to call them, advocating for themselves. And I think that's the most important thing. And I think that's the direction that Invest is headed.
Yeah, we don't have, sometimes they're just, structure because
Children need
it's.
structure.
They,
grown.
oh, absolutely.
They
We
need
all need structure.
But children need that for mental health, so that they have boundaries and structure. That's the truth. So, that's why we're grown and they're not. Now, I listen to my grandkids, I listen to my kids, whatever. I'm not saying there shouldn't be communication, but at the end of the day, I set the framework because I'm grown.
I also think we need to create, I think what you're saying is, it's one thing to take a test or whatever, but we need to create critical thinkers so they can take that information and do more with it, not just be robots and spit it back at you. And I think that's what part of this Invest document is that we want to create critical thinkers as
Sure,
well.
very well
So-
could be it. And there's a balance to everything.
You don't need to memorize.
So where does glue come from?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Do you want me to go ahead and make a
It's not a
motion?
report I did.
Horse folks.
Well, there you go.
Can I go ahead and make a motion? Are you ready? Or Doug, did you want to talk some more? I know.
I wanted to ask Mr. Alvarado what his opinion, his gut feeling is on this. I know you just looked at it. I think it's a good thing because you're going to be the one involved in it.
I think it's always great to take advantage of opportunities as a superintendent to go out and lobby for your district, lobby for your local needs, the local kids. I don't see this hurting, and I don't see any implication that this is taking away decision-making of the trustees.
Thank you. Okay. Talk this one to Doug.
Anybody else? Any last?
Does Susan have anything? Is
Okay.
she online?
Linda?
Does Susan have anything? Is she online?
Susan, do you have anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So as a lifelong teacher, the only thing is I'm not interested in having more mandates in my classroom. So I would be able, as a teacher, I would be able to discuss this with the superintendent. Are like the teachers going to have any say in any of this? Or how is it going to look in the classroom?
Yeah, And that's understandable.
I feel like when I was trying to explain Epic, if you guys were at that meeting, that's how this feels. That's Susie, that's exactly what this is to help protect. It's to help protect our teachers, to quit putting all of these mandates on teachers, right? We don't want to give teachers another thing to do, just to give them something to do. We want them to be able to do their thing and work their craft. So, yes, and then teachers have input. Teachers can come through public comment and talk to you. Teachers can be involved in the legislature. Teachers reach out to you by email all the time and can tell you how they feel. And that's how you share in this public format the needs that you support.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Yes.
Thank you.
But you know, I'm not saying anything about you per se, but it's only this input being given to the legislature is only as good as the ideology of different superintendents that might be bringing things to the legislature. So there's a lot of moving parts here. I'm good with you, Frankie, but not all superintendents are on the same page. There's a lot of moving parts. So forgive me if I'm not sold. Thank you.
I don't believe you lobby to the legislature. That's what you have a lobbyist for.
Correct.
So there's,
Correct.
the lobbyist will group for the superintendents that making decisions as a group. Am I right? Okay.
Well, it's just a
And I
question
would
whether you have
like
a
to-
seat at the table.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. So I believe they're gonna move forward with this invest. And Douglas County may be the only district that doesn't have a seat at the table. And
That
that's,
would be bad.
so that's what you have to consider.
Yeah. Okay, are we done? Can I make a recommendation?
Yeah.
I'd like to recommend that we approve the Douglas County School District Nevada Association of School Superintendents Invest 2025 document.
I second that motion. I second that motion.
Okay. We have a motion from Linda and a second from Carrie. Any last question? Okay. We'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
Speaking to the. Oh, yeah, turn that.
Can't hear you.
Yeah. Nay.
Nay.
I didn't hear anything from Susan.
Oh, nay.
Okay.
What did you say? Dave? I didn't hear
5-2.
yours. Oh, you.
Okay. It passed. Board reports. I know this is summer, but board reports. Anybody? Carrie?
It's not, doesn't have to do with a committee, but this does have to do with the graduations I attended at DHS, Wattel, Aspire, Adult, and high school equivalency graduations. Each and every one profoundly moving. Best time of the year for me as a board member. And the small ones are just as important and just as brilliant as the big productions. So thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's an honor to be able to do that.
I'm going to second what Carrie said. It was really exciting to be on the other side of things. It was just really neat to hand kids their diplomas, to shake the hands of the graduates, to congratulate them. I really enjoyed the adult education graduation. I thought that was really neat watching these people get their diplomas, and that I thought that was just really awesome. Is this also where I share the NASB thing?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I had the privilege of attending the NASB meeting on the 20th of June.
You're just sharing.
Yes.
What you learned at NASB.
Yes.
And then we'll do the next item.
Yes.
Next. Okay.
Okay.
I just want to make sure because that's.
Right. Yeah. I made sure and read it before I started.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks, Jeannie. It was very educational. They did vote to approve Invest as a as a body, NASB as a whole, it passed unanimously to vote for that. We've got some appointments coming up. We have another meeting the end of July to talk about an appointment for a committee. So it was a great meeting and I learned a lot and have way more to learn. Our next joint meeting is coming up in September in Elko. We have a meeting on Friday night and then a training that is open to everyone, a training on Saturday, the 6th and then the 7th of September.
No, what's it on?
I don't know that. They don't have that out yet. It's just a training, a board. It is in Elko, yes. It's just, it just says board training. That's all the information I know of. So
See if you can find that out.
I will email Rick and then I will forward it to Annie and have her send it out.
Yeah, if I don't know what it is, I'm not gonna go.
Well, I think all training is important, whether you know what it is or not. But one thing I've learned as an adult is no matter how many times you read something or learn something, there's always more to learn on the subject. So
When you get older.
you just keep
you
learning.
Forget it. And you think,
Yeah, you just
"Oh,
got to
I don't
relearn it.
Remember ever doing it.
Gotta do it again.
So,
Okay,
so thank you.
thank you.
Okay, I also attended graduations, Powaloo, Aspire, went to adult ed and Douglas High School. This is going to be part of the job that I'm going to miss most next year. I guess I can still go, but I really enjoy the end of the year, all of the celebrations that are out there. I also attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting and I've got some information about the parking deal that we signed with Douglas County Parks and Rec. Yeah, the one up at Whittal at Warrior Way. So the report I got at the chamber was that the first 2 weekends, they collected like $12,000 each weekend. And they have installed an iPad as a kiosk. I know the parent groups, I don't know if Erin's still here, but here you are. She was part of the parent group that worked it. She said she didn't get yelled at this year, so she was really happy about that. Also, I got a report today. I asked Brooke Addy, the head of the executive director at the Parks and Rec, and she told me that from July 4th to July 7th, that they received $47,200 in parking over the 4th of July. So this could be a little gold mine. But the thing was, I'd like to just read something very quickly. It was a little press release. It says that the Douglas County is pleased to announce the successful implementation of the new parking program at its beaches during the 4th of July. I've forgotten, you remember last year we made national news for the junk that was left behind. So let me continue. This year, approximately 250 cars were parked, a significant reduction from the 800 to 900 that used to cram themselves up there on Warrior Way. The change has led to a notable decrease in overcrowding and enhanced overall user experience. That's what they were looking for as well.
And cleaner.
Yeah, the whole thing, the whole experience. With a parking fee of $100 per car, the estimated revenues range between 20 and 23,000. It's important to note that Douglas County residents were exempt from this fee. The reduction in vehicle numbers contributed to improved sanitation, to get back to the cleanliness, right? Improved sanitation efforts, furthering elevating the beach experience for visitors. We are very pleased with the initial results of our new parking program, said Scott Morgan, Assistant County Manager. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. We are committed to conducting a final assessment over the weekend to identify any areas of further improvement. And I'll probably come to you, Erin, for some of that. Additionally, on July 4th, what they also started, if you remember, was 23 cars were ticketed and towed. This was the most successful parking compliance initiative in Douglas County's history. So they put together an area up there where they could tow cars. They had to keep it up there because they would never tow and have to bring them down here. It would take too much time and would work. So along with the sheriff's department, they did this. This achievement underscores the effectiveness, the proactive measures taken by the county. Douglas County wishes to recognize the outstanding efforts and collaboration of the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. Their proactive approach and initiative solutions have been instrumental in addressing the growing parking challenges during the 4th of July celebrations at our beaches. Thank you. I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Awesome. And I can't believe that. That's good money.
So we're going to be making some money.
And clean and orderly.
So Frankie, if you don't know, we get 40%.
That's
So if I'm correct, right? You guys get 30,000 right off the top, parent group.
Yeah, we get the initial 30 and then 4 20%, whichever is greater.
Right. And then and 40 to us, which is nice. Of course, there's other fees that they have to take off, like for the parking or for the, yeah, whatever, other things. But yeah, it's going to be a good deal. Thank you.
so good.
Catherine? Anything?
Attended some graduations. It was just wonderful to watch these youngsters. But I gotta tell you, they look like little adults. Some of those outfits, I was like, whoa. But it was wonderful and exciting. It's a beautiful thing every year. Yeah, it was great. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, Carrie and I had fun passing them out. We rotated. Anyway, for the board members.
Did you give, oh, I'm sorry, you're
I'll
next.
get to it.
Okay.
Board members, I would, if you haven't been, if you want to go to a great graduation, Jacobson. Those kids, man, when they, you know where they came from, and they'll even tell you. To me, that's very rewarding, Jacobson. I haven't missed one yet down there.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Doug.
I went to 5th grade.
Promotion.
Graduation or
Promotion.
At Zephyr Cove, and I went to the high school graduation at Littell. I wasn't thinking I was going to be there, so I was sitting in the stands. And it was a lot hotter and brighter there than sitting on the stage.
It was cool, yeah.
Yeah, we did good.
Susan, do you have anything? Susan, do you have anything?
I was trying to send.
Dave, can you hear me?
Yes.
No, just I was unfortunately I was sick that week and I wasn't able to attend the graduations, and I was really sad because last year I enjoyed them so much. I hope to be able to enjoy them next year and the year after that.
Okay,
So they are wonderful.
thank you. Okay, moving on. Number 11. Is my mic off? Number 11 is NASB School Administrator of the Year. Do you want to take that, Jean? Go ahead.
So it's not just administrator of the year. If you were able to read through your packet, there are lots of different nominations that as a board, we can nominate 2 in each category. If you had the chance to read through, there's a bunch of different categories. And so my thought process in how to do this is we don't necessarily want to discuss every single person in a public setting, because we want to kind of make it a surprise that they've been nominated. And so my thought was that we create a task force or committee or whatever you want to call it to get together within the next couple of weeks to make the nominations, because we have to write a recommendation letter. And so it all has to be done and turned in by August 16th at 5 o'clock. So I would love to see our district nominate 2 people in each category. I think we have some amazing staff here, and I think that they deserve that recommendation. So that's what I would like to see happen.
So each board member?
No, it would be a committee that comes together, sorry, a committee or a task force or whatever you want to call it that gets together. So it'd be 3 members of the board that would get together to discuss. And I have a list of all of the teachers and staff members that were, that made Teacher of the Year or Classified Staff of the Year at each of the sites. And so we would, my recommendation is that we pull from those.
Okay, all right, Linda?
Yes, I'd also like to, all right, put a mint in my mouth. I'd also like to say that I've done this in the past because I've been here so long, but that what we've also done though is we do, it was just usually 2 of us, but we could do 3 of us. I'd like to do it again. It'll be my last year to do it, but if possible. But also we take recommendations from everybody. It's not just us making them, Dave.
Yeah.
It's if you have somebody you would like to recommend, or Catherine or Susan or Doug, anybody on the board or anybody,
so the
they
board-
can, you can say, hey, I'd like to nominate this person and give it to the committee.
Well, take these forms, fill it out, who we would like to see, and then give it to the committee.
Well, kind of, but not, but it'd be more names, I guess. You don't have to fill this out. Well, that'll be done by the committee because you have to attach, documentation like a letter why you're recommending them. So
So you don't want this to, we recommend that, blah, blah, blah.
I don't know that you need to do that, but you can if you want. You can, but you can just email
Okay.
who's ever on the committee and say, hey, this is who I'd like to recommend, and this is why. Just a short little thing, and then the committee can pump it, plump it up, I should say,
Yeah.
to make it, like get details of how long they've been in the district and, those things that we don't have at our fingertips.
Right.
We would get help from Jeannie or,
Even some that haven't been there long.
it doesn't matter. I'm
Carrie?
just saying, get some background.
Carrie?
So yes, and I've been involved in this in the past too, and it's a heck of an endeavor. So if you're volunteering for a committee, beware, because if we're going to go for every category, which we've never made before, but it'd be great if we did.
We were asked to by NASB, they asked
Oh, they
for
do.
at least 1 nomination in
Right.
every category. Because
Absolutely.
last year, they only got a couple of nominations in some of the areas. And so I think we're selling our teachers and classified
Yeah.
staff and administrators short if we don't nominate them.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be the head of that committee?
I am happy
Yeah.
to be the head of that committee.
Well,
And that,
because you're.
I didn't finish though.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
Okay, and again, it's a wonderful endeavor, and I'm proud of you for wanting to do that. But it takes an effort, because if you think of 17 school districts and everybody putting 2 nominations for each category in, you really got to work hard to make your candidate be the one. How's that not look good, but be the person that actually gets that nomination. So it's an effort. It's a huge effort, and it's a wonderful effort for their school district. Absolutely.
I'm just so happy to see there were so many categories, not just administrators, not just down to classified, down, this is what it's about. If you're going to do it all the way. From those that aren't even celebrated a lot of the times in ways they should. I was happy to see that.
Carrie, do you want to do that?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I've had that joy before, and again, I'll be more than happy to assist in ways, but I don't want to be on the committee. No, thank you.
We could just, if only 2 of us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
So,
Make a suggestion.
yes,
that you
please.
don't say committee.
Okay.
Because committee meetings we have to post. and
Oh,
like our
right.
attendance
That has to be an
committee.
agendized
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
record, yeah.
And in order to keep this private, I think, you guys could motion for 2 of you to collect nominations and get together you don't have to call
And-
it something. You can just motion for what members
cool kids.
will gather. You can call it whatever you want.
And historically, historically, it's been the board officers, but it doesn't have to be, but a committee is bad, yeah.
Okay.
So
Yvonne?
this is where we have to
Linda.
vote on Well, yeah, but we have, because of the way that the wording is, we have to vote on the process. Right? So it says the board will discuss and take possible action on the process of nominations to recognize the invaluable service provided. So we need to make a motion. Am I correct in that assumption?
I can make a motion.
Carefully
Okay.
worded motion.
I can make a motion.
Go for it, Linda.
Okay, I'm just gonna make a motion that we allow Yvonne Wagstaff and Linda Gilkerson to get together to collect the nominations for the NASB School Awards. And
Submit.
and then write up, yeah, then submit them. Thank you. Isn't that good enough? You don't think that's good enough? What?
I
What,
think
do you
you
need more
need to be
information?
specific.
Okay.
How the members of the board, the trustees will send you what, so maybe the trustees will send the two of you their nominations by a certain date.
Ah.
And then you will get
particulars.
together and you will,
Particulars. When does this
yes,
due?
determine one or two.
August 16th is when it's due.
Right, but you, so it'll have to be well
Okay.
before that because you're
Yes.
gonna need time.
Right.
Well, you need time, definitely.
And
I
then,
think
so
by the
maybe
end
you
of the
could
month.
say that the trustees should maybe, I might suggest they would forward Annie their nominations for
That's-
each
yes.
category
That's a
so that
great
she
idea.
can compile the
Yep.
list.
Okay.
And then you will get together, the two of you, to
go through the list.
review and determine who the nominees are, and then submit the required documents to NASB for those nominees that were chosen
Okay.
by the deadline.
By the end of
By the
July.
end, 31st.
By, I was gonna say the 31st
Okay,
of
let me try.
July.
I rescind my first motion and I'll make a second. All right, so I'd like to make a motion that where am I? That we, I don't even know where to begin this. I'd like to make a motion that we, I'm blank, that our NASB nominations are, any NASB nominations are sent to Annie, will be, which she will compile, and then they will be reviewed and determined and submitted by Yvonne Wagstaff and Linda Gilkerson
By July 31st.
by July 31st. Thank you, team.
Just to clarify, we're submitting by July 31st. Then our
They're
nominations.
submitting their.
And then we have until August 16th. Okay, just clarifying
Yes.
that. And so I will second that.
These forms, are these forms online that's in here for that?
You mean item 11 forms?
Yeah.
So it was an email that Rick sent to, I believe, Catherine and myself.
Well,
And so I forwarded it on to Annie and Jeannie to add it to this month's.
well, if they forward it on to the board, is there a way that we can fill them in right online?
But I don't have a clue.
Can that happen?
That's gonna
So it
confuse
This
them.
just-
is the form. This is
This is the form.
form that Linda and Yvonne will fill out and turn into NASB. So really, you just need to look at the headlines and pick your people that you want to nominate and forward those. So you would say,
Yeah, so there's,
email to Annie, for school administrator of the year, I nominate Jeannie Dwyer. And then,
Because, and give a little reason.
Yeah.
why, you know, Give us some little bit.
So-
And then we will, because it can't be more than 5 pages.
Right.
And so what the reason behind that would be is that we could come up with 10 people, all of us, for one nomination, and that would just be impossible. So there's gonna
There
be
would
some
only be
vetting by
seven. There'd only be 7
people.
nominations, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's never gonna get.
Okay, so it's been motioned, seconded. Okay,
Okay, we have a motion and second. Annie, did you get that motion?
Yvonne.
Yvonne.
Okay, discussion, no more? All right, so everybody in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous. Superintendent's report. You got that one?
So I believe this section was meant for Jeannie's farewell message, and then I can add to that once she concludes.
Sure.
Okay. Yes, this is my last superintendent report. So I would like to report to you on enrollment. So to start this school year, we had 5,050 students. And to end this school year, we had 5,040 students. So really, this school year, if you think about that, we only lost 10 students, but we did lose many and gained many as the months went.
From last year.
Right? So, but we ended, I do want you to know that we ended the 22-23 school year. So last school year, we ended with 5,305 students. So we do have a significant decrease. But from the beginning, from August to June, we stayed relatively stable. So I don't know. I'm not making predictions, but I thought that was valuable to point out. Donations, Rural Technologies donated $1,750 for robotics. We received an anonymous donation of $900. Permacal donated $4,850 for 5th grade science camp. And Tim Gahn donated a 2003 Jeep Liberty valued at $1,000 to the DHS automotive program. So we want to thank those people for those donations very, very much. So it being summer, we do not have a lot of upcoming events to report, but August 1st and 2nd, we will be bringing our district administrators back for their administrative forum. We call it their learning forum. It's where we welcome everybody back. We provide training and we just meet and do team building activities and work on our plans for the year to come. And so we'll be doing that August 1st and 2nd this year. Every year we have a theme, and so we're really excited about our theme this year. So we can't tell you though, because they're listening. We don't want them to know. So if you want to know, stop by. We'll be at Minden Mercantile and up at Lake Tahoe for some of our events and activities. August 8th, our new teachers report. It's hard to believe that is 1 month from right now. So that's exciting. We have lots of activities planned for our new teachers. And then August 13th is our next regularly scheduled board meeting. So that's all I have for you for upcoming events. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You called on me, sorry. Is it okay if I speak? I have a question. Can I speak? Can I speak? You're looking at me, but I don't know. You haven't said anything. Okay.
What's going on?
I gave
just
Linda
wanted- I have a-
permission to speak, but I am not the president. I am not the superintendent.
What are you anyway?
I don't know. I'm leaving.
So, and I'm very sad that you're leaving, but I'm happy too. It's bittersweet. Can you talk at all, and I don't know if we can do this, but I think we can. You talked about the enrollment. How's our teachers and administrators and our staffing? How are we looking staffing wise for next year at this point? Can you, I don't know if you know that or not, but where are the holes? What are we missing? What do we need to hire?
We are currently missing a principal at Minden Elementary School. Crespin Esquivel submitted his retirement a couple weeks ago. That was a hard hit. So we are conducting interviews for that tomorrow. Frankie's first day on the job, he gets to do interviews for a principal position. We are still in need of a principal of Powaloo Middle School. We're doing good filling positions, teaching positions. However, we do have several special education teacher openings across the district. And so I would say most of our openings are filled though, our teaching positions. We still do have teams doing interviews and filling positions every day. I processing hiring packets for new employees. So we're still working through the process. And as far as paraprofessionals, I believe everybody is placed and employed at this point in time for our support staff.
And what about our district holes? District office.
We got the superintendent.
Our district office, we filled one down. We did fill that today. We
Okay.
filled one opening. And so we do have an opening in our executive director of human resources position and our executive director of accounts, accountability, grants management, progress monitoring.
Okay, thank you. How about bus drivers? Do we know that yet, or is that too early to know?
I think all those positions are filled.
Okay.
I'm not aware of any openings at this time.
All right. Thank you, Jeannie.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
One more, almost done. I just want to say it's an honor and privilege to be appointed superintendent of Douglas County School District. I look forward to working with the trustees and also the entire school community, which is, students, parents, families, teachers, classified staff, everybody, for the betterment of students and the programs that we offer them. I acknowledge and understand that there's been a lot of discontent in the district, and we are going to face challenges. We are going to experience successes. And I hope each of those provides us an opportunity to unify and strengthen our bond, so that we're heading in the right direction to serve kids and providing the best possible atmosphere for our employees, so that we can focus on retaining our employees as well as recruiting highly qualified employees. While we do all this work, I hope we have fun as well. It's important that we do that. So thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you. Good to have you with us. We're all done on that. Okay. All right. Closed session. We already did that. So number 14, legal counsel explanation on Office of Attorney General opinions. This is for information only.
Just for the record, Dave, I'm so sorry to correct you, but we did a litigation session, not a closed session. And so I just think we need to, for the record, we are not in need of a closed session. We're not going to closed session for the agenda.
That sounds good.
Okay, but we did a litigation session. Those
Okay.
are two different
You're right.
things. Okay,
I apologize.
that's okay. I just didn't want the community to think that we were.
All right, 14.
So we received two opinions from the Attorney General's office, one on June 5th and one on June 7th for open meeting law violation complaints that were made in 2023. So the first complaint was made regarding the board's July 19th, 2023 meeting. The complaints were alleged that the board violated the open meeting law by holding the meeting at 10 a.m. on a weekday when many parents could not attend, 2, allowing the chair's comment to complain at McGuffin during a public comment period, 3, terminating the public comment period on item number 5 before all commenters on the remote technology system were able to comment, and 4, the chair ignoring other board members that she did not agree with. In this opinion, the AG found that none of these allegations rose to the level of an open meeting law violation or did not rise to the level of viewpoint-based public comment restriction. The next opinion was a findings of fact and conclusions of law based upon an open meeting law violation complaint regarding the board's February 14th, 2023 meeting. The complaint was that the board or the agenda did not clearly state the board's discussion of grant funding. The complaint was that a large portion of the discussion revolved around CRT and whether or not the district would be able to apply for grants if it included anything that had to do with CRT. While the board did not ultimately adopt language that referenced CRT, because the discussion revolved around CRT and it was not included in the agenda description, the Attorney General's office found that there was an open meeting law violation complaint because the public wasn't noticed that CRT would be a portion of the discussion and therefore wasn't able to comment on it accordingly. So what the AG demanded was that we publish this opinion as part of the agenda and discuss it or give information to it to the public. And that's what we're doing here. We don't have to resolve this by voting on it again, because ultimately we did not adopt the CRT language, but it was an open meeting law violation because the public wasn't noticed of the discussion.
I just want to make one comment that one on February 14th, Rick Shu and myself, I don't remember who else was in that. We brought that to a special meeting and corrected that.
Yes, but during the special meeting, I believe that again, CRT was discussed and the correction in the corrective language did not state that CRT would be a portion of the discussion.
We just did what legal counsel told us to do at that time.
Right, and that's fine. And the only thing that happens is we have to say, yes, the board violated open meeting law. Here's why. We acknowledge it and we will move forward attempting to be as clear and concise in our descriptions as possible. No harm done.
Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you. All right, prioritizing the agenda, placement and removal of possible items for future board meetings. Catherine?
I would like to put on the agenda a discussion for the 5G tower that is going to be put very close to the school over by Tractor Supply. I think it's something like an 80-foot tower. Legally, you're not supposed to put them within 2,000 feet of residential and so forth. Anyway, I'd like to put that on the agenda for discussion.
And I'd like to second that.
And how it will affect the school and students' health. Thank you.
I would suggest that we also add that as the tower we have here. And so we discuss all of it to make sure.
Well,
we're
that's
safe.
fine. I already know what the tower is. It's a micro tower. I'm aware of that, so we can certainly discuss that as well.
Yeah, I just think we need to discuss it so we know what's going on with the towers and stuff. Maybe get some.
Yeah, I have supporting
updated
documents and a
information.
bunch of information on that. Thank you.
And you want to put that on the August? Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to point out, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different ones for August already dated in here.
I don't have any more. Go ahead.
No.
This one's pretty important because they're in the
Well, I think
process
they
now,
all,
so.
and I think they all are, but I just don't know we
It
can do
affects
all.
the health of the students.
We can't do all 6.
This is pretty urgent.
Which one they're important, Gary? Go ahead and throw them out there.
Well, the ones that are already on there are pretty important.
Okay.
Everybody put them on for importance. I don't care what we do. I'm just making the point that 6 agenda items, just new agenda items is a lot. See if you can do it. That's great. I'm not the officers.
No. Does anybody have additional other than the one that Catherine just presented?
No.
Okay. Linda?
I don't know if it goes. I don't know if this is a future agenda item or how we even want to do this. but we have a new superintendent. And I think it's important that we help create a roadmap together with him. And what I mean by that is putting together goals. He's going to want to start working on things that he's passionate about. And I also think we need to help him with some of our goals that we're interested in. I don't know if this is a committee, if this is a workshop that we do together. No, well, whatever, task force committee. If it's something that we all are a part of, and maybe we do a special meeting,
Retreat.
something, but you know what I'm saying? So I would like to get going, hit the ground running now, and board retreat, maybe a board workshop. We could do that. And we could work together on helping you put together some goals.
I think a board workshop would definitely be appropriate.
And I think we need to do it
Okay.
sooner rather than later.
Well, the only thing, I don't know how much he's gonna have on his plate. I don't think any of us do. So can we, you want it, right? All right, how much, I know I'm throwing this out when you don't know what's going on here, because you haven't been here. But are you thinking next month? You thinking the month after that?
Sooner than next month.
Sooner.
Oh,
Yesterday.
call a shot.
Yes.
Now, one question, how many of us can meet?
Yeah, that makes a difference this time of year, especially.
Well, I mean, no, I'm saying for open meeting law.
You have to publish it like a meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be a public
You
meeting.
have to, it has to be agendized.
It'd be
Yeah, even at a
recorded.
workshop, you have to do that. There's all of us there. Yeah, public can come, but it's a workshop for us.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure
Let's
we
get
have to.
legal.
I'm not sure we have to have a
Jeannie.
public meeting on a workshop. We'll check into that.
We haven't had one in
Okay.
a long time, but I believe it was publicly noticed and people could come, but it's the work of the superintendent. and the board. So
Okay.
people can come, but
Good.
it's not.
Not official.
You're right.
You'll have to come up with topics.
Yeah, there are no decisions being made at that time. There are no decisions being made. You guys are just working together to
Correct.
devise goals that you will bring to a public meeting to
Correct.
approve or.
If
whatnot.
you're not making any decisions, not voting on anything, I don't think we have to have. It's just work together.
Just a vision.
You don't think
We'll do right on.
you don't
We'll do
think
right
that if we agendize it, whatever, we can't make decisions? Sorry. You know. Sorry. Yes, okay, that's what I'm saying, because I think if we're gonna do this workshop and we commit to doing this, we need to make decisions. And it's up to us to make the decisions.
I don't think there'll be any action items out of the action items would go to a future board meeting. for
Yeah, of
approval.
course.
Just bring ideas that we all
Okay.
have and discuss them. It's that simple.
Okay. So, right, all right, so Linda, good idea. I like that. And Catherine had one, and Carrie said there's 6 of them on there, so.
I need a second maybe on mine, I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're talking about in August now.
Yes. So if we just have those on the list, those 6. and
Can
when-
be
When the officers meet, we can,
change the dates.
yes, we can go through the agenda and do what we need to do, but we need to get back to those and get them done.
Sure, absolutely. Sounds
I'm
good.
sure that's why you brought it up.
That's why I brought it up. I always thought this list needs to be one page. So we can we're
We'll
positive
work
getting
it
that.
out.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the agenda? I think we're gonna have a, for at least down in September. No? No, done.
Whittle away at this.
Okay. All right. Number 16, public comment. I do not have. any sheet for that.
We don't need a sheet. Huh? Or we can do the sheet and then go from there. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Leslie
If you
Hilton.
wish.
This is a new mic.
Just push the little flat thing towards you. Used to, but it's okay.
Okay. Leslie Hoganson for the record. Mr. Burns, at the May 21st meeting, you wanted me to wait a minute and sit down so you could lecture me about how I should have been embarrassed by calling trustee Johnson out for her grand performance in court.
Okay, I'm gonna stop
I have
you.
empathy for trustee Jensen in regards to her eye issues, and I'm sure she has been to many doctors. I feel I had a right to say what I did because I'm also in a medical situation with my eyes. I've been facing cancer for the last 4 years. This is a picture. I see many multiple doctors, and I'm seeing an ocular oncologist in Elk Grove and Sacramento, California. My appointments last for 2 to 4 hours with dye injected into my body. So when I saw trustee Jensen in court making a mockery of the proceedings, I couldn't let it pass. What we have seen from trustee Jensen is degrading name calling of fellow citizens and students. For this reason, trustee Jensen should step down immediately. She is not a good role model for anyone. Thank you.
All right, Aaron Miller.
Erin Miller, for the record, parent of 3 DCSD students up at the Lake Schools. First off, I want to say thank you, Frankie, for joining us. Our wonderful community. I would love to share more from our parents and our volunteer perspective, as I'm very involved in Zephyr Cove Parents Club and Watel Boosters. We have a lot to offer. I'm also involved down here in Douglas Pop Warner, so I see a lot of our students down here as well with football and cheer. Maybe, just getting to know what our community needs, maybe help with like a parent perspective, and offering any guidance that you might need from the community standpoint. In earlier public comments, it was talked about proficiency rates. I'm not sure where that's coming from the public. So that's a very interesting thing when that's stated. I believe it said 27% in math, 33% in English, things like that. Now, if that's based on juniors, it's probably based on the ACT test that our juniors are not motivated to take. When a student isn't motivated to take a test, they're not going to be motivated to do well on that test. Anyways, in the last board meeting, you guys approved that agreement with the Parks Department to help reduce our traffic and the trash that's at our schools. So I appreciate that. No, you're fine. Just over the last 4 days, over 4th of July, our volunteer parents offered anywhere from 4 to 32 hours a day, or over the course of those 4 days. We picked up on Friday 10 bags of trash, all the way from Warrior Way, through the Parks Department, all the way up to Watel.
Thank you.
Well, I have a lot more, but.
Marty Swisher.
Marty Swisher, Gardnerville resident. I want to thank Mrs. Dwyer again for her service and leadership for the district in the months that you've covered. Thank you. Mr. Alvarado, welcome to Douglas County School District. We want you to succeed. The community wants you to succeed. So whatever we can do to support you, I want you to know that. At the June meeting, a member of the public called me a liar in front of this group, and I want to contend that. I'm not a liar. My contention is that I said on a news report that I believe that Mr. Gilbert, his law firm, has done unauthorized work for the school district. Specifically, I'm speaking about revising policies. If you go back to your proposed agenda items, the only policies that appeared on that proposed agenda item were bylaw 070 and the whistleblower policy. All of the other policies that Kira Sears worked on, I do not believe had authority from either the superintendent or 4 or more board members. There were thousands of dollars spent on those policies. And I think that is wrong. Even though they got approved, the process was incorrect. You need to make sure that the board is approving the actions for Gilbert Law Firm and not allowing him and his staff to do work outside of the scope of what's authorized by Douglas County School District. Thank you.
Mr. Swisher. Is there anybody else? Okay, Mr. Lehman? You got, all right, when he's done, we'll go to them.
Rob Lehman, parent of 3. I'm here speaking just to speak mainly about open meeting law violations, and it's shocking to me how there's still a basic misunderstanding of how these things happen. In the first one that you talked about, you said there was no violation, but you failed to say that the Attorney General said it was a close call. Those were the exact words. You shake your eyes, rolled up your eyes at me. It was a close call, and so they said no, but it was a close call. So be careful about that. It was a close call. Number 2, you explained it all. And then at the end, I guess to appease Mr. Burns, you said no harm done. There actually was harm done. You violated the law and you kept people from participating in the governmental process. That is harm done. So I think you need to understand that. And then last, you're talking about this workshop, and it shocks me that you don't know the answer off the top of your head. Oh, we're not making decisions. Maybe we can all show up. Just think this through. A violation, if you have 3 board members talking about the same thing outside a board meeting, that's a violation. Are they making decisions? No, but they're violating, right? Or 4 board members. Once you have a quorum, it's a violation whether they're making decisions or not. So how you possibly can think that 4 of them or more can show up in a meeting and talk about stuff just because they're not making decisions is straight up asinine, to be honest. Anytime you have a quorum together, you have to be public. Thanks.
Anybody else?
Beth Bunch, all I can say, Catherine, thank you for standing firm on traditional education. I think when you talk about NASB and NAS or whatever it is, it's homogenizing education. My daughter went to school here in Douglas. My son got a variance up in Carson City for ROTC. And you know what I found out? There was nothing difference between there and here. Same garbage math, had to buy this stupid book called The People's History of the United States. And I had to ask my daughter, do we still have that book? No, she gladly threw it away. So there's no difference. So thank you, Catherine, because why do we have to do everything everyone else does? Be a member of NASB. And if we're not on NAS, we're going to be left out. We have a great county here. We have very good legislators here. They're very approachable. And you can just approach them. You can go to the legislature. You can testify or whatever there. I mean, that's one good thing about Nevada is you have that avenue also. So I would be very wary of NAS. And again, why do we have to do everything that everyone else does? Same books, same classes, same whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian?
Adrian Sawyer for the record, parent of 3 DCSD students. It is exhausting to come to these meetings and just be berated about how horrible this district is. My kids go here. Please, can we stop the test scores? You get information that has no basis. You're not getting where those test scores are coming from. It is so frustrating as a parent. You wonder why enrollment goes away. Me, right here. Why would I want to send my kids here when you keep telling me there is grooming and there is teachers who are teaching things that my kids shouldn't be learning? Like, please stop. This district is amazing. You are here. You're giving Mr. Alvarado the worst of this district. I didn't hear anything about how we had a student who got Gatorade Player of the Year twice. That is unheard of. How she is on the national All-American second softball team. Like, you didn't hear about oh gosh, what is it? that Ms. Jensen did, you don't hear about the good things. And it's so frustrating that we come here every meeting and we hear about how horrible our teachers and our students and our parents and everything are. It's exhausting. Please, good news every once in a while would be nice.
Thank you, Adrian.
Casey Rogers for the record. Two things. I find it kind of ironic that a former trustee would come up here and talk about harm done after all the harm that was done over his member trusteeship during the COVID and all the harm that was done to our children still with the anxiety, the depression, the suicide rates, the speech delays and everything else. I find that ironic that you'd come and speak of harm done. And then the other thing I would like to say as a parent whose kids, all three of them went to Douglas High, I can tell you that my last daughter should not have graduated, but yet she was pushed through. And it was quite depressing to see how it all came together. I'd also like you to know that I've also went into the middle school when my kid was in middle school, embarrassed the crap out of her because she was telling me things that I could not believe. So I went to the school to find out for myself and found that most of the students were learning from substitutes, not even four-year degree educators. They were mostly substitutes. And to see all the, how do I put this nicely? Third world country, like the children were acting like absolute fools and getting away with it. It is astounding. So we can sit here and pretend that these schools are great, but
Thank
there's
you,
a lot of
Ms.
work to be
Rogers.
done, sir. And welcome.
Anyone else? Okay. Oh, go ahead. Thank you.
Nice try.
Hey, Jen, I'm gonna unmute you.
Hi, this is Jen Spoor for the record. I have 4 daughters and 2 of them graduated from Douglas High School. And I have a daughter and I have 2 daughters at Douglas High School right now. And I just wanted to take a minute to bring some good news to celebrate some of our students. I was driving home from a week-long trip, a houseboat trip on Sunday with my daughter, who is going to be a junior, and she took the AP World test. And 2 of my daughters who graduated, they took the test as well with Mr. Petit, who is an absolutely incredible history teacher. And she was so nervous because yesterday the scores were coming out. And when she got her score, she was absolutely blown away. She didn't even think she would get a 3, but she got a 5. And so many of the students in that class got 5s on the AP World test. It is absolutely incredible. Mr. Petit knocked it out of the park this school year with those students. It's quite unbelievable. I think it's the most 5s that they've even gotten. So I am celebrating because these students have just done phenomenal. And this is an amazing district with amazing students. And I think it's really important that you all who are sitting here can recognize the fact that, like, these students worked so hard. Do we have work to do? Yes. Okay. But the teachers, the dedication of the teachers in this district is bar none. I mean, it's incredible. And I just want to recognize Mr. Petit and all of those AP World students who worked their tails off this year and made us so stinking proud. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Jen.
Cheryl, Cheryl, you're up.
there I am, maybe. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Miss Spore, my goodness, that's exactly what these folks need to hear. There is so much good going on in our district. And Mr. Alvarado, watch for these are joyous moments. They're places where you can receive grace and joy and happiness and fulfillment. And I'm really grateful that you're here. And I look forward to you proving me wrong. And I am going to look forward to meeting you again. I am out of the town right now and attending a large family memorial service, but I am really glad that you are here. Thank you.
May Hyatt, you're up. May, you're up. May, if you can hear us, you're up. We have another one from the phone call, so I don't know their name. So for the phone number ending in 55, you're up.
Hello, this is Melinda Matus. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I wanted to just say thank you to Mrs. Dwyer for all of the months of dedication, perseverance, expertise that she has provided to our wonderful school district. I want to welcome Mr. Alvarado to one of the best school districts that I certainly know of. I want to give kudos to all the teachers and all of the administrative staff and to the school board. They do a remarkable job, and I just want to say thank you and good luck to you, Mr. Alvarado.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else online?
Just yeah, just May. And we already did Cheryl, right? Yep.
Okay, David, go ahead.
David Seat. I would like to echo Beth's commendation for Catherine standing up for not going along with what everybody else does just because everybody else is doing it. A horrible example of that was when the COVID came and this district masked all of their students because they wanted to get the money that was attached to that masking mandate. It was a blackmail for the money. The past board did not have the courage to stand up against the enticement of the millions of dollars that was put into this district with the hook that they had to mask them. So I want to just say that, and I'm stammering because I typically have a prepared statement, but thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Susan. And, talking about, Rob Leben, he says that ashamed of this board. Well, he has plenty to be ashamed of, and the old board has plenty to be ashamed of too, with the whole COVID hoax that they bought into and were blackmailed by the millions of dollars that this district took in just to satisfy, I'm not sure what, but it was a hoax and you bought into it.
Thank you, David. Anyone else?
Try May Hyatt again. May Hyatt, I'm going to request to unmute you again.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, apologies for the previous bad connection. May Hyatt, for the record, please start my time now. So earlier during public comment and throughout previous meetings, trustees and the public have always seemed to bash our district and our teachers, talking about low test scores. I concur with what some of the other previous commenters said, that, you know, wherever you're getting these stats from, if it is from the ACT test scores, that is a state mandated test. I do believe that we need to celebrate our teachers. I am a fellow teacher myself with over 20 years of education experience. I've taught high school science. And if you as a public don't like it, I suggest that you get a background check, go in and volunteer and be a substitute. And I want you to see how hard it is to teach. It's not an easy job, but these teachers are to be celebrated because day in and day out, they work their butts off. They continue to inspire. They continue to put in the work to help these kids learn. They motivate, and these kids love these teachers. I love these teachers, and we are to acknowledge them. All of the wonderful staff of our district, they ought to be celebrated. And yet here we are every meeting, and they get bashed, and they get trashed, and they get blamed. And we talk about how bad our district is. We are not terrible. We are one of the top districts, if not the top district in our state. Yes, we can do better, but let's celebrate the great
Mrs. Hyatt,
because we are great.
anybody else? No one online? Okay. Meeting adjourned.
I think that is.